Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies, also known as PWD Allies podcast. Today is part 2 of the Provincial Disability Policy Analysis, and we're going to be diving into ODSP and for Ontario, people on disability in Ontario. I want you to check out the podcast on your favorite app, on Spotify or wherever you find it best suited for you. So today I am going to be turning the mic exclusively over to Minnie, and I want to thank everyone on our panel for joining in today too, as always. It's always a great pleasure having a great input.
We should say that Dan and Ellen are also from Ontario, so that they're welcome to pipe in as well. They're well versed on ODSP, but like you and I, Brent, we're not, and same with MJ. Like we're on the West Coast, so that's why we wanted to kind of turn over the show to Minnie and to Ellen and to Dan, as they are the experts in Ontario.
They know better than we know out west. And so with that being said, I'm going to start off with Minnie first, and then we'll make our rounds. Hello, Minnie. Thanks for joining in today. Great pleasure always having you on. And today I'm going to dive into the ODSP. People that are watching or listening right now or later on, if they're listening later on the podcast, Minnie's going to be talking about the policies, a breakdown of the policies of ODSP. Right now, as people know, across our beautiful country, people live in legislated poverty. I know it's not a nice word, right? You think, well, isn't the government supposed to take care of people? Well, evidently not, right? So
Mythbusters.
Smelly gusters. Love that phrase.
It's we're able to hold a cataract 5,000 feet in the air. Let's think about that one. No.
Anyway, we'll let Minnie take it away. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm Minnie. I've been on ODSP since November 2010. I work while on ODSP, so I'm not just on the income support and then health benefits. I get all the things you could access being a person who's working, receiving ODSP. I know a lot of people, they're on ODSP and they're not able to work. And that is where you are limited to what you can access. You're limited to how you live your life on ODSP. And then there's people that are rejected from their application on ODSP, so they're still in the Ontario Works program, and that you have to prove all the time you're unable to work, because Ontario Works is short term. They want you to get back to work as fast as possible or go through employment training, education training, some type of training that gets you back in full-time employment, and their goal is success if you are able to achieve full-time minimum wage work.
Yeah. Should we say what the difference between, like, as far as the dollar value, what the difference between OW and ODSP is?
So
yeah, that's a very good question.
Monthly benefit of Ontario Works for a single person, no children, is $733, and then for Ontario Works it is $1,308 for a single person, no children, assuming you don't have access to the other benefits, so like medical transportation or special diet or have children or married. There's different calculations for what you get, and then your housing. So if your housing is like board and lodging, or you're renting a room, or not, like, and then housing, so like those things are different, but like the full maximum for me, like I'm in market rent, so I get the full maximum of shelter, $556, and then I get $752 for basic needs. But my maximum is actually $1,593 before they take back an overpayment, because I'm in market rent, and then I have special diet, and I have medical mandatory transportation. So like each household is different. So even though they have a general information about ODSP, they don't tell you the things you could access until you're in it, or you actually get a caseworker that's asking you, are you accessing this? Do you know about that? And with being on ODSP since 2010 up until now, the only time I actually got more things from ODSP or OW is when I actually had a caseworker who asked questions to help me along, like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
They're supposed to ask you, do you need this? Are you aware of this? Like,
well, here in BC, it feels like the caseworkers here in BC and maybe elsewhere too in Canada, it feels like they deliberately withhold information. They don't want to tell you things because they don't want to give you money. But what is your experience of, like you just said you had a good caseworker, but what is your overall impression? Do you feel that they're deliberately withholding information or not?
so that is also the other thing. So because I'm very like articulate and educated about what I want in general, I get caseworkers who talk to me like I understand what I want in general. So like depending on your disability or your language ability, you may just get a caseworker that's not patient enough to have a conversation with you. There's also that. Or like the only time I get caseworkers that come with me with a judgmental, predisposed, whatever, is when I go to the office. It's when I go to the office. So if I go to the office, I had to photocopy invoices from my small business, and two caseworkers who were a different department of the caseworker office decided to hover over me in the office. But I'm doing the tasks my caseworker asked was to photocopy the invoices, because the Wellesley office has their own computer center for people that are looking for employment. I'm doing all the things they told me I'm supposed to do. I'm accessing all the things they told me I'm supposed to access. Just because two little caseworkers are tired of their little job, they have nothing better to do. They're hovering over me as if I'm like, I should just brought in extra paper. The way they were acting like I'm wasting paper. I'm like, no, I'm doing exactly what my caseworker told me. So just that I get a lot of it, like if I go to the office, depending on the environment of the office and depending on the caseworkers, if they're just too long on their lunch break, that's where it comes in. But I learned from reading the Auditor General document is because when they made the OW and ODSP program, they did not program people to not be judgmental and stigmatizing. They came in with their biases from day one. They came in with their judgments from day one. They came in with the, oh, these people are wasting our time. Oh, these people looking for like, or making like, no, welfare is not that big. Even if like the 90s, it still wasn't that big. It's not like we got millions of dollars, like the joke on The Simpsons. It was barely enough to get by.
I mean, do you think that there'd be a lot of people that have disabilities that are still sitting on OW pending to get on to ODSP?
That's how I started. I started on OW.
I wonder what the
first.
percentage is. I wonder what the percentage is.
They have it on their website.
Do they?
They do. They have a caseload stats thing they update. It's like a year behind, but it's the same thing like Stats Canada. They have their stuff on the website. They know what households are on what. They know how many caseloads are on OW. They know how many caseloads are on ODSP. They know it. It's just I don't need to be a statistic in a book. I'm a person.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
Well, you always say that you're really good at tracking down stats, and that's great. But like another stat that I've always tried to find, and I can never find it here in BC at least, is I want to know the actual percentage of affordable housing or subsidized housing that actually is the percentage of housing that's actually going to PWD. Like what percentage of the affordable housing or subsidies is actually going to people on income assistance that are disabled? Because I've tried to ask that, and I don't know where to find that.
But so that's the thing. So like they can talk about it in the meeting when they do the budget meeting, but they're not going to make it public.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a church. Some church websites, you can go to their website and see their annual review of their budgets.
Yeah.
Like, but this, it's not like they're gonna. Toronto Housing may not have it public on their website. The housing board that have different names for different cities and things, it may not be public.
I wish they would make all that public.
And that's the thing. We have to
because
demand it being public, and
because then you could hold them to account, right?
You could,
That's what
but
Ford doesn't want.
if they don't even make the meeting public, we can't make the information public.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Dan has his hand up. Dan has a hand up. I'll get Dan to speak here.
Yeah, can you hear me, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about the visual. I don't know why the camera's not going on to fix this shit. But the problem, really, one of the big problems with finding out those statistics is the simple fact, like, again, I don't know how it works there in BC, but for here in Ontario that we're focused on, over the past, say, 2 decades, there's been, so public housing was originally supposed to be like, you got your residents here, you got your seniors over here, and that's how you kept your statistics. But over the past 20 years here in Toronto, they've been displacing people all over the place, whether it's because of regentrification, whether it be because it was an emergency situation that they had to put somebody in, say, from a shelter to an apartment. And it's just, there's no way to catch it up. So you got to be like Minnie and just stick on them, right? Because if you don't have these numbers, how the hell are you supposed to tell the truth to the public? How are you supposed to get the wraparound services and things that people need? So one thing that Minnie said that really struck to me, and I'm really agreeable to it, is that they got to start treating people like fucking humans, man. They got to treat them like humans, because if you treat each individual person the exact same in every situation, you're not going to get any further ahead, because you're going to be running around in circles.
Yeah,
I was on getting ready to buy a ticket to go to Ottawa to deliver my guitar, and there was a guy who was unhoused in Kingston, and he has some kind of bursary ticket thing that the police that was giving him as a one-way ticket to get out of town. They were basically, which was very common in the 90s. We don't want you here. Here's a bus ticket to Niagara, or here's a bus ticket to Hamilton, and they're still doing it.
That's what they did in 2010 for the Olympics, right? They bust everybody out.
It's not our problem, we don't want. And this guy wasn't even bad. It wasn't like he was strung out or anything. He just had no housing, and they just wanted him off their radar. Yeah. And I was like, this Ontario is just getting disgusting.
Yeah, I remember really when they had Greyhound, they used to ship people on the Greyhound out and send them out west.
Yeah, all the time. All the time. When I was visiting Alberta, I got jammed up because my I lost one of my tickets or something, and the Alberta office, welfare office, offered to buy me a one-way ticket back to Ontario, and I took it. I'm not gonna. I lost. I had bought those Greyhound invoices, and someone had taken it from my backpack because I had it in the side pocket.
Oh no.
Well, and Alan's correct too, right? Like, just like Minnie, I've been on OW. I was on for 17 years, and ODSP for about 3. And I can remember situations, for example, being in, say, Guelph, attending a court appearance, and that's exactly what they would do. They would give you the bus ticket. Where do you want to go? One way, one time. Where do you want to go? Right? And back then was totally different. All these wraparound services that are here now today. Sorry, let me rephrase that. All these wraparound services that are supposed to be here today were not available or around back in those days. So back in the 90s, when I became homeless on assistance, the check back then was 600 and change. And then other people were getting like 1,300 at the time in ODSP. So we're talking back 20, 25 years ago, say, and nothing's changed, right? Except it's gotten progressively worse. And we need to have people come together.
That's only like $100 difference in 25 years or something.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
When I,
it was
when,
next. It was next to zero. They literally,
Yeah.
on one point in time, cut everything in half,
Oh
and
my.
you're back at ground zero. Yeah.
I'll
Wow.
say, so with
when
me on Ontario Works and then on OW, I've never actually been homeless. So like because I'm female and men are disgusting, I've crashed at their houses. They've gotten my stripper license. I got my other apartment. I've gotten credit cards. They paid for my electricity bill. And even though my family is borderline toxic, they've given me money. So like I've been able to get jobs. So I worked two jobs at one time and been on Ontario Works, or I worked multiple jobs and I was on OW and ODSP. The thing with ODSP, they weren't recognizing my self-employment until after 2013.
Yeah.
So
Oh wow.
while I'm making
uh,
money and I'm, according to them, eligible for ODSP, they weren't knowledgeable enough to process my self-employment. Income minus expenses equals net profit, which is net income, then that's deducted. So there's a whole wave of being on social assistance. And because caseworkers are not knowledgeable in small business, self-employment, multiple sources of income, making money off the internet, I was just on the system making money in a way that I knew how to make money because I always knew how to do it since 2003, but they weren't able to process it. Or I'm getting
Huh.
psychotherapists to tell me, oh, that's not a real job. You should get a real job. No, this is a real paycheck. I'm still doing it now. I'm not going to stop making money off the internet. I'm not going to sell my little ebook, ODSP and work calculator I sold 7 times for $12 US. I'm still going to sell it. So the rig around for me is just people not listening to me.
Mhm.
Like literally not but 12 people can buy an ebook from me on the internet.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
like a person on the internet
yeah,
that I do not know can pull out their credit card and buy my ebook that's supposed to help them on ODSP calculate their self-employment. But my caseworker, I don't understand that. Really? It 7 other people understood it.
I think there's a will. I think there's. I mean, it's getting hard for them to do it to get away with it. But I've discovered in the last 8 years that there's a real willful ignorance on behalf of the workers. Oh,
You're
I don't want
saying
to
it's
deal with this
perfect. You're saying
person.
it's purposeful.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
purposeful and
I know,
purposeful
right?
incompetence.
Don't
But
say
I've run
that.
into it so many times. So many different workers, and I've had some gems of workers, people that will just kind of go the distance. But I've also had workers going, "I don't think you can do that," and we're not giving you a this, that, or the other to offset. And I'm like, you guys don't have a clue. You're just paper pushing,
Yeah.
Right.
and you're
Right.
making a
MJ.
stack of dough doing it.
Yeah.
It's
MJ's
because
got
of
his
the
hand up.
discretionary
Yeah.
benefit. So like getting the employment startup benefit for being
Mhm.
self-employed, I will find a program that I'm doing to support my self-employment. And it's how you present the information. That's what I learned because of the way that the person in my Facebook group, he said he got rejected for his employment startup. And I said, use this template, put in what you're doing. He got $392. That's how it's the casework. They're not like you have to present it to them in the words of the policy because when I write my template to get the employment startup benefit, it's for the purpose of full participation in coaching, seminars, workshops, Toronto business development. Like I literally tell them exactly where I'm going with their money. I like whether it's more therapy or Jane Tweed's program for addiction and count, even though I may not even need that program. I need the $500 that they tell me I'm supposed to get every 12 months. But
I actually had a question for you, Minnie.
What?
Have you ever got more than the 500 over the
No,
500
it's
total?
purposely $500 employment startup benefit. Let me show
Okay,
you my
I
spreadsheet because where is it? This would help. Hold on.
MJ
I was
wanted to.
curious.
Well, I need to
MJ
be a
wanted to
host to
pipe
show it
in.
to you. But yeah, it's
I only asked because I hear so many people saying, "Oh, I got X amount," or "I got X amount," and it almost seems to be a case of
employment startup
favoritism.
benefit says in the policy it's $500.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
Like
all
it
right.
literally says it. And then the way I linked it, if someone can make me a host, I can share my screen to show you where it says it.
Sure.
But
I can do that.
Share screen.
and then there's one for leaving ODSP.
I
The one
think
for leaving
let me
ODSP
see
is
if I.
500. The one for employment startup benefits 500.
Yeah. Let me
But
just see
it
here.
says in the policy it's 500.
Okay.
I throw their words right back at them. It's 500. I want the 500.
I'm going to throw the mic over to MJ just for a moment there, Minnie, and then we'll come right back to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been noticing about your guys' conversation thus far is the fact that you actually have individual workers. In BC, I think it was 2015, just before the NDP got in, the Liberals decided to go and get rid of individualized case workers. And now we don't have an individual case worker that we can deal with. Anytime we ever have to call, we're always dealing with another individual that doesn't have a clue about our situation, doesn't have a clue about our case, has to review the situation, has to try to figure this out and do that and all the rest of this stuff. So we've been put into a space of deliberate limbo of where we end up going and not being able to go and actually work with one person to be able to actually go and deal with that individual, so we can build a rapport to deal with them on a one by one basis.
That can happen here, MJ. I've had situations where I've complained about a worker being abusive to me verbally or being rude, where I've had to make an actual complaint to a supervisor, and they'll tell me, "Well, we'll remove this worker from your caseload, but unfortunately, right now we don't have anybody available. You'll be notified when a worker is available to take your caseload. For now, just call the main office and we'll patch you through to someone who might be available in the office that day."
Well,
so that's happened.
Right. And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is because what happened when I got audited with five audits all at the same time from 5 different offices across the province back in 2017, 2018, whatever it was. What happened was none of these people had a clue. All of a sudden they saw a big flag or something, and they decided all at the same time to go and make 5 audits without even consulting one another. See, and this is where the problem is in BC, right? We don't
with
have
Ontario, each postal code is assigned an office. Then each office operates the way that they operate. So like for me being in downtown Toronto, there's a lot of turnover of caseworkers. So they're typically on a contract for 9 months, maybe a year. But other parts of the city, like Sault Ste. Marie or another part of Ontario, they have a different operation of caseworkers. Some of those caseworkers never retire. Some of those caseworkers are miserable from day one until they're gone, if they leave. So, like for Ontario, with how big it is, I've never left downtown Toronto. I've always had that office where I'm at. I've never moved out of the city. I never moved to a different office. I've always been in this office. The only thing with this office was they moved from Gerrard Street beside the strip club to Wellesley, and they merged the Ontario Works and ODSP office, but they made it nicer. It doesn't look like this run down.
It's that Church Street. It's that church now.
Yeah,
isn't
they
it?
moved from the beside the strip club at Gerrard over to Church and Jarvis. But Church and Jarvis they were promoting it as a nicer office, as a prettier office.
Right.
So you're like Cheers, where everybody knows your name there now?
No,
yeah, it was on Young. It was on Young.
The one in Young and Gerrard was just different. It was a hole in the wall. Office, and then the one in East York. But I never really had to go into an office. So like not everyone is getting the same experience because where you live in the city. It's not like it's consistent like a McDonald's anywhere in the world.
Well, that's another thing. It should be consistent, right? It should be. That's another thing we can talk about too a little bit is like here in BC again, is like the Work BC offices, right? All the Work BC offices, they're so different. Like everyone is like completely different. So depending on which Work BC you go to, like you'll get completely just shit service or not bad. But it's like it totally just runs the gamut, right? It really does.
Well,
and
here's the funny part, Neil, is
if I could jump on Work BC, one of the things that I've found in dealing with Work BC in the multiple locations I've lived in is I've found quite literally that they have the same level of crap service no matter where you are. I mean, so the multiple different places I've dealt with, seem to have this whole same low quality service going on. It's like they run you through the ringer. They got to spend all this time going through a bunch of stupid crap. Then they want to interview you. And then, it's like if you hurt somebody's feelings, they say, oh, you hurt somebody's feelings. We can't work with you anymore.
Yeah.
It's like I'm on disability for a reason,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so this was the employment training startup benefit. See, it says right here, eligible members of the benefit unit may receive up to $500 in any 12-month period to assist them with the costs, beginning, change, maintaining employment, beginning, change, maintain employment assistant activity, and then beginning, change any other intended to assist the person to become and stay employed by approved by the director. So the any other activity is how I get my self-employment stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I presented and I'm doing anything to stay self-employed. And then I went back and looked through everything in the policy that says self-employment, and then the self-employment startup benefit, it was in there.
But even that page you just showed now, Minnie,
Wait,
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything equivalent on the BC government website. Like it doesn't give you that kind of breakdown, right?
There's a smaller version for Alberta, because when I found Alberta, it was so nice.
They don't give you that kind of breakdown on the BC government website. They don't. It's like, well, here's the act, which there's nothing in it, and here's our legislation, but there's nothing that like you just pulled up a summary, like here's a summary of our policy. There's nothing like that on the
and it didn't
BC
look like that
government
before.
website.
So like before the pandemic, it was a giant wall of text that I had to read through.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the nicer version of it, and they update it every couple of weeks. It drives me nuts. Like,
Oh.
I freaking hate it because like there's things in there that I read that the explanation was so small and general that it made no sense. But I went back and I'm like, they added more detail, they added more explanation, they added, which, I mean, with me leaving ODSP, it's good because I have everything in the policy it says I can have. Like with that. But if you read the policy when they changed the earned income from 50% exempt no matter how much money you earn, and they added the 200 flat rate, and now they changed it to $1,000 flat rate. Some people believe you're cut off right away on ODSP because the 2013 September, before they change it, 50% exempt, like cut off automatically on your income, not knowing that today it's $1,000.
Yeah.
So some people literally stop working because they're believing old information. They don't go back and look for it.
But you agree with me, Brent and MJ. I just want to see if MJ and Brent agree with me, is that here in BC, like where is a summary document that summarizes the policy nicely and says, here's a piece of service that we provide, here's a piece of service that we provide, here's a piece of service. There's nothing like that.
It's to me it's outdated, right?
If you go onto the BC government website, it's just hodgepodge. They literally they just throw shit up. They like just throw it up there, and it's like there's no rhyme or reason. It's like walking into a Walmart, or like, you know what I mean? Like there's I've gone into Walmarts where there's shit all over the floor. There's open boxes and stuff. You know, it's like it's literally like a bomb just explode, and that's what BC policy is like. You go to the website, it's just like shit's up there, and like figure it out.
They throw it up there. They throw it out there, figure it out. You know?
One thing.
Yeah, go ahead, MJ.
I mean, here's the thing: it's like when you try to call them up to go and find out information, you're sitting here, trying to ask them questions, and they don't have a clue, and it's like so. It's like you go through Inquiry BC and they're just as clueless, right? You try to find them, ask them questions. They don't have a clue what policy does this or whatever. I mean, so it's like then you try to once you get onto welfare, or they're called welfare number and disability number, and you talk to them, you got to wait an hour.
Oh, at least. Yeah.
So by the time,
if you hear it all,
exactly. So I mean. It's absolutely a gong show the way they've set things up.
Well, it's a gong show. It can be a gong show, MJ, in Ontario. I mean, aside of the employment stuff, you'll end up like in Niagara, they cover orthotics for shoes and they cover beds. But because everything's been downloaded to the regional municipalities since Doug Ford got in, um, things
That's
that
it.
I come up to Kingston and they're like, no, we won't cover an orthotic insert even if you've got an RX. No, we're not covering a bed.
Oh
I'm
man.
like, you know what I mean? So you go because of the download to the regions. Um, certain cities like Toronto, they might cover a new mattress. I'm gonna say they do. I'm just saying I'm using that as an example.
No, they
They
do.
might cover. They might.
They,
Oh,
Okay, so Toronto
they don't.
covers a new mattress. Kingston, you have to go through the Salvation Army and get some hand-me-down that's been in a
Oh,
but I
warehouse.
learned it's from the city of Toronto. So like City of Toronto has
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They
the
download.
stabilization housing fund,
hmm.
but it's because I'm in Toronto. Why they replaced my furniture, they replaced my mattress after my landlord sent them a fax so they confirmed they treated my place for bed bugs. It wasn't, and then it's only because I was in the office that one day and there's a flyer in the office on the wall and I read it. Like
Mm,
it's not like I would have had the information automatically. It's because I remembered it. I was like, and then there's some people who are in the office all day long.
hmm.
I'm
Oh
not trying
yeah,
to live in the office all day long from when it's open to when it's closed and then having security guards chaperone you the whole time. I'm trying to
Yeah.
have a life. I'm trying to go to work. I'm trying to make money. I'm trying not to be on disability. But some of the things with disability, if I'm not in the office to look around the bulletin boards or the flyers in the office or the flyers behind the receptionist,
Mhm.
I would miss things. You would purposely miss things because they're not advertising them. Like the whole
Yeah.
when they changed the income exemptions from working and not like from working from zero exemptions to 200 to 1,000, it's because they made flyers. But only this time now that they're trying to be digital, they
Mm,
emailed out everybody a flyer that they changed the work exemption or they changed the increase to inflation in July.
hmm.
But
They're
it's
not going to
like,
voluntarily come out there and provide
no,
that
they
information.
don't. Like, and then if you don't look at, there's a newsroom website that has all the updates.
Hmm.
If I didn't search for those things, I wouldn't know that the rules were different in 2013, which made
Mm,
sense of why I had caseworkers who didn't recognize my self-employment because they weren't educated on, they weren't told to do something, so they didn't do it.
mhm.
And I'm like, but self-employment, I have to report to the government. But Ontario was like, oh, we don't know how to do self-employment. I'm like, it's a small business accounting course. Like, it's just
Yeah, yeah. There's that communication gap where they're not communicating and like reading the policy based on what they need to be educating themselves
they
to
even with
give
the
to.
segregated fund that so I told my office so this is the thing too you tell you have to report everything there's a rights and responsibilities you have to report all your income and assets
Yeah.
so I log into my benefits we have a digital system to log into my benefits and I put in there that I have a segregated fund these are the statements then I had some whatever dickhead caseworker respond back saying no you can't do that it's a tax-free savings account I'm like no it's a segregated fund section 4.8 life insurance policies. I
Mhm.
literally had to send back him his policy and link his website.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it's because if I'm not assigned a caseworker and it's just anybody who picks up the case that responds back, they're not looking at it. But when I'm assigned a caseworker, I update them, read my notes, read this stuff, check this message. I posted, I have to tell them what dates to look for the messages. When I
Mhm.
posted it, do I need to send it to you 600 times? I'm okay to send them 3 copies of one thing. Sometimes I fax, email, drop off a letter all in the same day.
Wow. Wow.
I
That's
mean,
huge.
I could because I'm close to the office. I could walk to the office, drop off paperwork. I know how
Right.
to
You
send a
weren't
fax
though.
online because
Yeah.
the free fax online, you can send free faxes online. Then the My Benefits, your phone, most of your smartphones can scan all your documents,
Hmm.
See,
and then that's
and
it.
the difference
I've had
is in BC is you end up trying to go and avoid dealing with these offices, right?
Yes.
Is
That
because
is
it's
why I
just
send it in triplicate because if somebody loses it,
Yeah.
somebody has to pick it up somewhere.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. I mean, I know like downtown Victoria here, we have a bunch of tents all set up along the road right in front of the welfare or disability office. I mean, you have to stumble through these tents to get through. And there was one guy who's like laying on the concrete there, and he's just passed right out. You know, there was paraphernalia all around everywhere, and I thought, wow, like what's going on here? And you get in, and you got security guards standing at the door. You know, it's like you just don't want to go there, right? Unless you really have to go to the office, and it shouldn't be that
Well, they
way.
made it. Niagara got really bad because they are in the MTO building, and the security guards in the foyer don't do jack squat. So what you have to do is you have to go on a specific elevator up to the M floor in the ministry building in St. Catharines. But they just then you get up to the M floor with the ODSP offices, and you got these goon-like security guards making the environment completely hostile. It's like it's become. I've had workers. I actually just sent Doug Ford a letter saying, if you think it's imperative that a disabled person should have a job, when should I start at your office?
Right.
And the lady was just, I said, well, our premier tells us the best thing we can do is get a job. And I've been applying to places, but every time I tell them I have a disability or it comes up in conversation, the interview's over. So I'm just wondering when I'm starting at Queen's Park.
You know, it's funny. You know, Ellen,
I didn't know what to do.
You know, it's funny, Ellen. I'm just going to comment on your comment on that. I remember I was in way back when I was in college, and I had an instructor who said to me, "So, if you had the best solution for a job, what job would you love to do?" I go, "You know what?" And it was actually I took that same line and I took it over to the government's office, and I said what the instructor said. And he goes, "Yeah. So, what job would you love to do, Brent?" I go, "Your job." It was like, "Hey, next client, please."
I'm getting so frustrated because the kinds of jobs that Doug Ford thinks disabled people should get are being taken over by like if you go to Walmart, forget being a janitor there, they've got a floor machine now.
I saw that.
All these jobs that Dougie thinks disabled people should do are getting eliminated because Walmart doesn't need it, and the days. What I guess I'm getting at, Brent, is the days of a disabled person getting a job stocking shelves at a Walmart or no frills are over.
So remember when I said earlier that the goal of ODSP and getting people back to work is to rumination equal to at least minimum wage? It's right here. This is the Auditor General essay, whatever thing is. It's right here. The purpose of the employment support program is to help people with disabilities increase their economic independence through competitive I remember this word before. Rumination equal to at least minimum wage and sustainable jobs. It doesn't say what job. It says minimum wage.
Oh.
It's not like you decide what that job is. You decide what you're qualified for. Like I know me going back to school for accounting would be my best bet if I'm getting a job, but I also know that I can make my money self-employment. But if you're going to go through employment supports through ODSP, it's going to be minimum wage. It's going to be data entry. It's going to be folding papers and doing the paper route. It's going to be like the pizza place. If they think the pizza place is higher, they're going to put you in that pizza place. If they're going to put you in a bakery, they'll put you in a bakery. No, you don't want to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to work at the bakery, but it accomplishes the goal of at least equal to minimum wage.
Well, remember in BC here, Brent, when they literally had sweatshops here in BC, they literally had sweatshops where people with disabilities would be working for maybe $3 or $4 an hour. Or less than that, maybe like $2 or $3 an hour, something like that. It's disgusting.
Yes.
I'm telling you, Brent. Neil, I've had friends of mine who I'm no longer friends with. Like I've stepped away because of the ableism, but I've had them going, "Oh, people with disabilities should be working in shops where they're isolated. They got this whole 1950s mentality.
Yeah,
that,
that's healthy.
like I had one guy get, he was I was working. I just started at Swiss Chalet, and he's like, "Oh, you're working. That's cool." I said, "Yeah, I'm on ODSP, but I want to get back." He goes, "Well, that's where volunteering comes in, my friend." Like he goes, "Don't take a job from someone that needs one in the community." That's what he said. That's way back when I was young. We had these jobs where we worked in workshops, and I'm thinking, you arrogant, misogynistic prick. Like, and then I've had friends who have said that to me, like I'm stealing a job, and my brother-in-law, who's supposed to be Christian, is telling me how I should be living in a group home or an institution because when I rent an apartment, I'm taking it from someone.
Oh, geez.
So I'm like,
because you don't deserve. You don't deserve.
I've had workers do this.
Yeah.
I'm going, where is this mindset?
Yeah.
Like you want us to be in the community, and then you're telling us to be behind closed doors. Like,
yeah.
Make up your mind and then shut up about it.
Yeah.
This is something that Minnie said earlier about when all these people get hired, they still come in with all their preconceived notions, right? And working in welfare, and is the same thing, with what you're just saying, Ellen. It's this whole preconceived notion that we're just not good enough and we're just to be thrown off to the side, because you're disabled, just get out of the way, right? And this is something where I've noticed as well is when you talk to people about being disabled, they really, I don't know what the heck it is. They really have this attitude that, you just, you're disabled, stay out of the way, let the rest of us solve the problems. And I'm like,
your own lane. That's
I'm sitting here going, when the disabled people start figuring out figuring out the solutions, and you guys can't, there's something seriously wrong with this. I mean, you take a look at what Minnie's doing with these spreadsheets and her group, Facebook groups and stuff, helping people out along the way to get further ahead, right? So going back to what Minnie was talking about, is all of these things that she's doing are not just to help herself, but to actually help other people in the process.
Yeah, and it's like saying, like the government always says, like, oh, get a job, right? And it's like one size fits all. How the government, their talking points. But as a disabled person, that one job, it may not be, the person may not be qualified or be able, not even qualified to be able to actually do that. So I love
that's why I called Queen's Park, Brent, because I was like, I'm told that when I go to an interview and I have to disclose I'm on ODSP and whatever, and then the interview is over, or I go into a Walmart to drop a resume off, and there's a machine doing the job that I plan to apply for. So that's why I called up Queen's Park. I'd like to talk to Doug Ford. Currently, he thinks I should have a job because I'm disabled, and yet I can't find one because society is ableistic, and they want me stay in my own lane. So when am I starting at Queen's Park, Doug?
Well, that's
I'd like to know.
There's so much ableism out there, discrimination from employers.
Dan had his hand up.
Yeah, Dan had his hand up. I was going to say.
Go for it, Dan.
Yeah, you're bang on. I was just going to say part of the problem is that they hear the word disability. This happens far too often here in Toronto and Ontario. They hear the word disability and they automatically categorize you into the one category of disability. So as an example, like my previous work at the city there, my job was helping house the homeless. It was straight up. I was the council liaison to Toronto Community Housing. And what people think is that we're all disabled. We have no brains. Our bodies don't work. We don't know how to do things. The problem with the government,
what we're talking about.
The problem with the government is that when it's not their idea, when it's not their solution, they don't want to hear it. When there's people such as Minnie and myself and MJ and Alan and you two there, and we have the proper solutions to help outfit the issues, they don't want to hear it. You interrupt the machine and you're interrupting the world.
Well said, Dan. You bang on that. Exactly. Because
But it's not even that, like before I was self-employed. I was fine. I was normal. And then they told me I have depression.
Me too, though.
They told me I have depression. They told me I need to go into treatment. They told me I'm in psychosis. I didn't know I was in psychosis. They told me I'm in psychosis. So while they're diagnosing me, I'm trying to fight for the ableist life that I was told to have since I was born. I didn't have the option of being disabled when I was younger. It happened later in life. So if you're already in a grown up program in a certain way to go to school, get a job, get married, have babies, and then have your retirement or in a job for 40 years and it stops, nobody's there to support you to reinvent yourself at all. They literally just said, oh, you're disabled. They really want to lock me up at I couldn't be in the psychiatric ward. They told me I was too well to be there, and if I stay there, I get too sick. So they sent me home. Then they sent me in CAMH's employment support program, trying to tell me the job I've already doing that got me where I am in their office, that pays for my bus fare to get into the office, is not a real job.
Jeez.
Yep.
Well,
when I needed self-employment source from day one, but I didn't get that till 2016. I didn't get an agency to help people that are self-employed until 2016.
Well, that's kind of my issue too, is, and I know that you can kind of speak on this too, Brent, is like before I went on social assistance or income assistance. Like I said, I've only been on for about 15 years or so, roughly, maybe 14 years. And before I went on it, I was working I was working 40 to 50 hours a week. You know, and again, I mean, I've had my disability from day one, like from birth, like cerebral palsy. It's pretty significant. Like it's actually hard. It's actually hard to do 40 to 50 hours a week with cerebral palsy, but I did it. Right.
And it's at different levels. So
but I pulled it off because you look after your health, you make sure you prioritize your health. So you know, but then it's like I didn't know all this shit was coming my way. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was you know, I was kind of clueless, but you just figure like, okay, I've done my 20 years of like doing my darndest to stay off, like, because it's not like I didn't know that social assistance was a thing. Of course I knew it was a thing, but like I was kind of ignorant, I have to say. Like I just assumed like when I'll need to call on it at some point, it's going to be there for me. I didn't think it was going to F me over.
Well, that's the thing, Neil, is
my only image of welfare is from the kids in high school that are having babies.
Yeah,
but because I wasn't one of them. I wasn't a teenage mom. Yeah. I didn't think I would end up there at all.
Yeah,
no, I didn't. I didn't always believe have this picture that it would be
the
like
system was always there, though. Like I always thought that was there to help people when they needed it. And my family doctor even said, "Well, the system is there to help you when you need it." And he even said too. He goes, "You remember when there used to be pensions, and I got on after they got rid of it as pension."
Me too. If I had known that they were going to do that, I would have applied right at 19 to get on it. Like if I knew that the government was going to screw us over, like when I got older, I would have applied to get on it.
And then when they go through and they try to reassess the person to see if they're still disabled down the line. I mean, that was a huge no that government did. But whatever, that's another topic.
Brian, I got on it in '96, but I was running my landscape business, so I wasn't getting. My parents just wanted to make sure that if I needed dental, whatever, or health benefits, I was getting the benefit end of, not the financial end of ODSP. The only time I needed it was during the winter months, because running a landscaping business is kind of hard to cut grass when there's 4 feet of snow. Canada, eh? But so it was just a fallback. But from the age of 20, even before that, I was cleaning boats when we were sailing. That's how I made money for my landscape business. And by the time 91 came, I was 2021. I was cutting grass from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. unless it was pouring rain, which in case I was even double down the next week because the grass was going to be super high. So I've always been self-employed. I've
Yeah.
always, like, if I wasn't taking photographs for weddings and stuff and small businesses, I was cutting grass. So I've always been on the self-employment aspect of it. I've had jobs. I worked for the city of Welland on a contract in '97 to fill in for someone. And stuff like that. And I'd worked for Ally Moving, where I was almost a crew manager within a year. So I was making triple what ODSP gave me. It's only the American company shut the Canadian side down. So the ignorance of ODSP is pretty phenomenal. Like, I've had workers badger me, when are you going back to work? It's clearly you can work. Why are you on ODSP taking money
But it's not
from
for them
us?
to decide. Like we're acting
Yeah,
like,
oh no, I agree.
we're acting like they don't have the power to come tell me to do anything.
Yeah.
Just like I got on it because my doctor said it was a good idea to get on it, so I did. And the whole time I'm fighting my doctors not to be on it. And then when I finally got on it, I almost lost my apartment. I almost went homeless fighting my doctors that I can go back to work.
Yeah.
Because I was told, treat the depression, you can go back to work. Then when I got on ODSP, no, these caseworkers, their only job is to show that I'm qualified. And the thing, when I was looking to the Auditor General, they have this wonderful flow chart of how they process people on ODSP. That is their only job. Person applies, immediate financial need, yes or no. It's a choose your own adventure book. Ontario Works application, financial eligibility.
Do I get
yes
the happy
or no.
ending though? I want the happy ending.
ODSP application, financial eligibility, yes or no. Like, they literally just look at you, yes or no. Which flow chart are you in for? Like,
looks like a maze.
Not really. No, we all started here. We all applied.
Oh, okay.
And we all proved we have financial need.
Oh, it's like a pyramid kind of.
What's at the end of the flow chart?
The end of it is appeal to Social Benefits Tribunal. They purposely flow chart you to apply to Social Benefits Tribunal.
Yeah, okay.
Remember whenever we got denied, you had to get legal aid to help you build a case to go to the court? This.
Yeah.
Or you're somewhere in the middle.
It's got 2 unsuccessfuls, and they both lead directly to the tribunal.
There's three.
3, yeah.
There's one down
There's
here.
3.
Oh, wow.
If unsuccessful.
It's a regular game of snakes and ladders.
But what's funny about this chart, and I'm glad I scrolled through the whole thing, it had where
the graph.
Third-party verification of your income. This income verification, how they check if you're eligible. So they check CRA, which is they're checking your tax return. They're checking your credit report at Equifax. They're checking the Ministry of Transportation to verify if you own a vehicle. They're checking employment insurance if you're qualified. They're checking into OSAP if you have anything at OSAP. They're checking everything.
Dear.
Yeah, you're under a microscope. And if it looks
they can check everything, but I'm going to make sure I follow everything here. They can check everything, but I'm making sure I access everything here that they said I can access. Like, my base amount is $1,593 before they take the overpayment if I do not work. If I work, I get $1,993, which is the work-related benefit plus my base amount. And then gifts. So my mom and dad and grandma send me any money. It's anywhere $10,000 in a 12-month period. I'm getting that. Income deduction from working is $1,000, which means I make sure that I stay somewhere in this wonderful chart of net income from my business and still get my ODSP. I calculated the math. Like, the level of the bookkeeping, receipts. Okay, great. So here's the section for self-employment, cash in the business, $5,000. My plan is to put this $5,000 in a GIC and let it sit there. So that way I have the stock market growing my money, so I don't have to work as hard. And then business assets. So like my camera, my computer, my lighting, everything I need for my YouTube studio and content curation assets, and then my other assets, and then the segregated fund, and then this is the employment transitional benefit to leave ODSP. The whole thing is set up in a way that you're on it, you're working, you leave, you get your final paycheck. And then the transitional health benefits, So great, you made too much money, but you no longer qualify for health benefits on the like not making any money. They have transitional health benefits. They have extended health benefits. Then if you don't qualify for extended health benefits or transitional health benefits, you can buy your own plan. I called everybody. I called Blue Cross. I called Green Shield. I called Desjardins. I called everybody and got quotes for health insurance. They're not going to stop me from being there, and they're not going to give me a little bit of a little opinion to come tell me what I can and cannot do. They don't get to decide. That is my doctor deciding. That is how well I respond to my medication. That is how well I decide to make my money when I know how to make my money, and making sure if I have a business coach, I'm hiring the business coach, or if I'm going to travel for business, whatever it is, if I go back to school, they're not stopping me. Like they're like, we're sitting here complaining about the caseworkers in the system, but you're staying in it. If you stay in it, you literally at the mercy of them deciding what your life is.
So Minnie, if I may, if you could just clarify for the people in Ontario, does that mean that you can make the $1,000 a month and get, is that $5,000 a year business exemption? Is that per year or is that per month or what is that?
Oh, I went by too fast. I'm sorry. Hold on.
No, I just think it's great information to have for people
It
out
is,
there.
and I said it so fast. I said it really, really fast. And
really good
I
information.
should have slowed down on that part. So what it is.
Do it like this.
So, okay. So
That's funny.
hold on. Okay. So here's the section, the link for self-employment. So self-employment, where's the assets? Business assets up to $20,000 can be allowed if necessary for operating the business. They also recognize people that run a farm. So your tractor could be worth $20,000. That's the asset of the business because your business is a farm. So the $5,000 is what they want you to have as liquid cash in your business, which is
just as long as it's not liquid honey.
That's your asset. That's a whole different thing. That's your asset. If you have liquid honey, that's your asset.
Oh, okay.
For example, a recipient receives a business loan for this is a whole, you have to tell them you're applying for a loan for the business and they have to approve it as a reason in your business because you're always telling them your business. They decide what your business is profitable in and they're not experienced. It's not like they went to a business school and took a business class. They're reading the policy and they're deciding, yes, that makes sense. No, that doesn't make sense. But the $5,000 cash, where is it? Here it is. Cash in a business is generally defined as money or any instrument in a bank accepts deposits, immediately credits the depositor's account, checks, money orders, bank drafts for self-employment recipients. And then cash is considered a business asset, cannot exceed $5,000 of total business assets of the asset limit $20,000. The reason I said I'm putting $5,000 in a GIC is I limit my total asset limit of $40,000, but it guarantees that money stays in the locked in account. So it grows as I do the other things I need to do. Because the $5,000 for me is my rent for 3 months or 2 months of rent.
I have an unrelated ODSP
It's a
question.
way, so me saving money is a way that when I leave ODSP, I'm not left going back to them.
Go ahead, Ellen. You had a question?
I have, as of this year, as of December 2023, my ODSP no longer gets contributions from the government. I hit from the day it started
and then
to
open
now.
the
So
segregated fund.
I've got 30 grand or something like that. So unless my mom's putting into it, no money's getting contributed to it, right? We need to take it out of the RDSP and reinvest it in something that is stable, but it grows higher than the 5% that the RDSP is, which is not that great.
Well, you can't take it out till you're 60 anyway.
Well, no, we can roll it over as of very shortly. It's just that the government is no longer contributing to it.
Yeah, but
it's got to get flipped.
Your RDSP, you can put in $200,000 lifetime in it before you turn 59. So then how old are you?
I'm 53. But like what I was saying is it's now just a question of it being a regular savings
It's still an
RSP
investment account.
because
It's still an investment account until you take it out. They make you take it out at 60. So what's in there, your financial planner needs to make sure it's invested properly what's in there. Like mine, like in there, the investments in there are the dynamic fund, it's real estate. Like what is your portfolio invested in? Because that's what makes it stay longer until the last minute you have to take it out.
yeah. Yeah, my mom and I are going to sit down and take a look at it when she gets back in April because now we've hit December 2023. The government's no longer contributing their 1,000 a month or whatever it was to it.
But
That stopped.
I think it's also true, at least here in BC, I've heard that
MJ, you're next.
like when my RDSP matures, when I turn 60 and I can take it out, I've been hearing that you can't take the whole thing out. You can only take out a certain percentage every year.
They drip it out. They drip it out.
They drip it out. You can't take the whole thing, which I didn't know initially. I thought I didn't know it was drip fed to you.
Oh, of course, yeah. MJ.
Yeah, I actually was looking up the BC regulations, and I've been, kind of reading this while we've been looking at it. It's going to be definitely worth reading over. But my question, was with all of these things that you've been able to discover and read, Minnie, how, have you built like a plan, like a layout for people to be able to get off of disability so they can go and get their life together and say enough of this crap?
The Facebook group has guides. So I made 7 baby steps out of the Dave Ramsey's baby steps. And each of the Dave Ramsey baby steps, there's specific information of ODSP in the Facebook group. Let me
okay, I have a question. I know that if you're on Canadian CPP, there's a disability version of the Canadian pension plan. If I understand it correctly, it's low. The monthly amount is lower than ODSP, but you're not tied to the policies, some of the punitive policies that ODSP has.
That's correct.
Is it? So I don't know how much I would lose if I flipped from ODS, said, you know what, I'm done with ODSP and dug forward and yada yada yada. I still need to have some stability under my feet. I still need to have. I can't pull the rug completely out under my feet because being on ODSP, having cerebral palsy, I don't want to get the carpet under my feet. So how much am I going to lose if I go to that Canadian disability?
You can call Service Canada. They can tell you roughly what you're expecting to get.
Okay.
I know I'm getting $30. So if you worked more and contributed more into the pension, because the CPP disability is from the same Canada pension plan money. It's money that you put in while you were working. And if you were self-employed for most of those years, if you made over $3,500, then you put something into the CPP. So you get to call Service Canada or log into your My CRA account.
Well,
and then
I know that
Service Canada, and the Service Canada will tell you.
I know that I earned enough when I was at Swiss LA to be eligible for CERB, because when we got laid off at Swiss LA, most of the staff at Swiss LA had gone to CERB, and I was one of them. Now I'm getting clawed back for it, but I must have made enough to qualify for the $5,000 that you needed. Tax
Service Canada is the only one that knows how much your pension is going to be when you need to get it.
Okay, because I know eventually I'm going to have to switch to the Canadian disability one, because when they hit 65 on ODSP, I'm cut off anyway. So
the minute you turn 64, they send you a letter to apply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here in BC, again, Brent, remember they were forcing people to apply early.
They were
at 60, and that was a huge thing that they
would. Actually, I mean, with that, I mean, people with disability, right from when they applied for disability in BC, there was definitely outrage because the BC government wanted people to apply for CPPD right when they applied, and some people did get pushed to do that. Other people didn't. But of course, yeah, you're right. I mean, when you turn 64, yeah, you're going to get a letter saying, "Hey, you need to now look at applying for CPPD." Well, good luck trying to find a family doctor or somebody to sign off on seeing if you now still qualify as a person with disability to get on to federal disability. Like, disability doesn't go away. I mean, and that's why a UAVI or something similar, MJ, that's what is needed. I mean, or being self-employed. I mean, wow.
Can someone scroll to the top of this group so I can?
Oh yeah, that's mine. So this is the group where I have all the guides, all the information. After, because ODSP changed the website link. They used to have MCC domain name. They changed it to the Ontario domain name. So almost all of them that had the old domain name for the guides, I have to go back and change them. But it tells you exactly how to leave disability and never go back. Like it's just a way that you have to be working, you have to be out of debt, you have to be saving money, you have to be investing your money. And then the financial planners, like I emailed you about David Copland's website. He's the only person I know who has a disability who's actually licensed to sell the financial products. And I went through his web, like I follow him on LinkedIn too, but like when he posts his articles for it, they're exactly what I'm telling you. But he's licensed. I'm not licensed to sell you the segregated fund or the mutual fund or that. I work with my financial planner, but my financial planner that I found, he sits down with me the entire time and explains to me what it is. So like how I know my registered disability savings plan has the real estate investments and dynamic fund investments in it, it's because he explained to me each investment, what they are. This is how I know the goal is this account is supposed to be over $100,000. I mean, there's $77,000 in there now, but I'm 39. So with compound interest, it should be good. It's just he planned it so that it's in the market, it's doing the investments. As long as the economy is doing, like billionaires, I'm happy for the billionaire. The billionaire will make sure my portfolio grows the way it should grow. Because with Alan saying his RDSP is going to turn over with the drip account getting withdrawals on it, he needs to make sure that he doesn't take all of the money out. Some of it still has to be invested his entire life. Because you can't just take all your money out of your portfolio.
Ellen is asking to join your group. I just saw the pop up.
Oh, I didn't see that part. But yeah, it's
okay. Yeah, I mean, this is awesome. I mean, the amount of work that you've done here is absolutely astounding, Minnie.
And I did it. I got tired of being told to stay poor.
Wow. I mean,
like the Scarborough Action Coalition, John Stapleton. I'm sure he's a wonderful man. He's a retired caseworker at ODSP, but he has stay low income in retirement presentations. I'm not doing that. I'm not like 77,000 in my registered disability savings fund at 39, compound interest I needed at 60. That's 30 something years from now. And you want me to stay below income $20,000 my entire life?
I don't think it's sustainable.
What crack are you smoking is what I need to tell. Because that's basically what it is. You're literally telling me don't make more than $1,000, only save $250 in my account, only get the minimum match from my registered disability savings fund until I turn 49, and then stop.
Wow.
It's absolutely, it's dumbfounding that people would suggest that people should stop trying to go and become better and stuff.
Legal aid does it. I hate legal aid. Legal aid says the same one as me getting on disability because mentally I was not functioning properly. But then the lawyer was like, you can't really work while you're applying. I go, then how am I supposed to eat food? Like go to the food bank. The same food bank that gave me botulism, they sent me in the hospital, that I have the doctor give me the lecture that I need to eat better food.
Yeah.
Isn't that ironic, isn't it?
When I could work and buy the food I know how to cook and make and eat, that my doctor says your blood work is fine, your cholesterol is good, because I'm eating food. The amount of fruits and vegetables in my fridge right now because I made money.
Well, yeah, because food banks don't always give you everything that you need.
The reason PC Financial gave me another credit card is because I'm making money.
Yeah.
See,
like like everything that's supposed to be like progressive, you have to make money. Like if you
Got a
read the book,
tube of this.
if you read the book, The Science of Getting Rich, it purposely tells you to not stay poor. It says the only way to get rich is to not be poor.
I got
We
this
like
ground beef in the
the
dollar
solution
store.
of exiting poverty is people need to work.
I got this ground beef from the food bank. Last time I got a pouch like this, when I cut it open to use it for my spaghetti sauce, it was no longer the color of ground beef. It was white.
Because they have
Oh,
expiry dates and they're supposed to be held at a certain temperature to stay cold.
Yeah. Oh,
The
Well,
only thing I did with it was I pulled it out of my freezer and I put it in the fridge in cold water so it would start thawing out so I could mix in with
But
the
those
ground
thaw
beef
out
I had
fast.
bought.
So like
that's
ground beef is one of
nasty.
those things you have to cook it instantly. It's thawed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was just
Otherwise-
a brick, right? It was solid frozen. So I had to get it to the temperature where I could physically break
Yeah.
it up and
Ground it, yeah.
see,
and when I cracked it open and it still was half frozen, it wasn't even the color of ground beef.
Oh.
Like
Well,
Oh.
here's another Captain
it tells
Obvious.
me it had been at the food bank for a minute.
well, hey Neil, did you see my message on Facebook? You know,
Just now.
yeah. I was just
Oh.
looking at the Canadian or BC regulation. It says we can't leave BC for more than 30 days in the
Right.
Oh, you have
whole
that too?
year. The
Oh,
whole year. The whole year.
I need the
Right.
day pass.
Yeah.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Can I go to the washroom?
It's
Go,
like,
Brent, let's
you know,
go.
it's like the whole year. It's like you can't leave for more than 30 days. So
Oh,
So
Yeah.
it's like if you have to go and to deal with a family matter, you know, outside of the province or
I'm
go
taking
to
my
a
2-week vacations. They can suck it. I'm taking my 2-week vacations.
you know,
but you know,
it's
or
nuts.
here's a good example. It's like you got a phone up there, 1-800 number. You have to wait for some random worker to answer it. Yeah, okay. You know what? We'll have to assess this. We'll get back to you within 5 to 7
thing
business
is, so
days.
even though it says you're not supposed to leave the province for more than 30 days, if I leave and whatever reason I'm out of the province longer than 30 days, you keep your boarding pass. They're going to ask for your boarding pass. They're going to ask you, how did you pay for the trip? Then if family paid for the trip, then your family has to write a letter they paid for your trip. I already know that. They did that to me already when I was on Ontario Works and I had to go to my grandmother's funeral.
Oh my
Because
God.
Ontario
Yeah.
Works says you can't be
Oh.
out of the province for 7 days. I didn't
got
know that at the
that.
time until I told the caseworker I went to my grandmother's funeral in Jamaica. And they're like, what do you mean? How did you get there? Luckily, my mom didn't throw out anything. So we had the boarding pass. We
Yeah.
had everything. The only thing that they were trying to ask for was a death certificate. But my mom was like, I'm not going to give that to you. They don't need to
Yeah.
know that. So I gave them a copy of the program of the funeral.
My gosh, eh?
Yeah.
And the only reason I gave them a copy of the program from the funeral is because what else was to prove that I actually went there for a funeral and not for vacation?
Yeah.
Jamaica for me is never a vacation. It's always some stupid family trip that I don't want to go to with family that I don't want to see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But for business, like the companies I work for that do their trip in Miami and LA and all those things, I'm going. That is the purpose, to make more money in my business.
Yeah.
If
I
you
just-
want to dig around,
That'd
if
be
they want to dig around on a porn website because they're being nosy, that is their problem. But that is still my business. That is still my income.
Yep.
That is still what makes me money. That is still the reason my invoices are paid on time from the companies in the United States that do adult entertainment. But they're not
I
going to
know,
stop me from my 2-week vacation. They're not stopping me from doing anything I need to do to succeed in life so that I'm no longer under the system. I
MJ,
want to
and
leave them
leave
as
the
fast as
province
I
for
can.
30 days?
Many. I mean, the government worker going and looking at up what,
They can
what you
look at
do.
it all they want. I really don't
Yeah,
care.
and
It's-
then, no, I'm just saying. Then he gets fired for going looking.
that's his problem. That's totally
Yeah,
his problem.
I know many models who I've worked with that I've known for years. Ellie Hollow in Toronto, who's a plus size advocate model, has been an OnlyFans model in the adult entertainment business for almost 10 years. I know quite a few people that have a disability that are still in the adult. I could care less. I think, hey, more power to people that want to sustain
hey,
themselves.
See,
I
I've got a
I
face
don't-
for radio. So
Hey,
that
Ellen,
will help.
hey, Doggy, can I have a day pass, please?
Well, I just wanted to go back to the health piece for a bit,
Yeah.
because Minnie, you're talking about, eating healthy and not having to
Absolutely.
resort to the food banks. That's kind of my Captain Obvious statement I wanted to make, is that for whatever reason, government and government policy assumes that everybody with a disability doesn't care about their health. I can tell you that I totally care about my health. Like, I'm always on about how do I stay healthy. I always, in the past, I was always doing massage. I was always doing chiropractic. I'm always taking vitamins. I'm always, just always really conscious of what I'm putting in my body as far as healthy foods and stuff too, right? I mean, not to judgment anybody, but I've never smoked, and I do drink a little bit, or like not, I actually hardly do now at all. But like in the past, I used to drink a little bit. But it's only because, when you're born with a disability, like the deck's already stacked up against you, right? When you're born with a disability, you're dealing with a stacked deck already. So
Yeah.
that to me meant that you know what, I'm gonna really look after my health. I'm not gonna smoke. I'm not gonna do drugs. I'm gonna really look after myself and make sure that I'm setting myself up from a health perspective to be successful, right? Because I don't want to like just run my body into the gutter. But like, you look at government policy and they're like, well, go to a food bank, or surely you can live on $100 of food budget a month or something. And it's just like, are you kidding me?
Here's the thing on that, on that policy. It's the government says, well, you need to exhaust all other avenues. Like, go to the food bank. Do you qualify for EI? You need to drain out your savings, drain out whatever you can before you get government support. They say the last resort. I mean, really? Like, yeah,
but it's actually not. So that's the annoying part about it's not actually a last resort, because my aunt, her son is autistic or cerebral palsy. He's verbally and mentally never going to function as an individual adult in his 50s. Like, for his entire life is depending on homes, care workers, my aunt taking care of him, or whatever they get from ODSP. My aunt didn't know I was on ODSP, but I asked my aunt if she made any plans for my cousin when she passes away. I was like, who's going to take care of him? Because I don't want to be left surprised to take care of my cousin. And the rest of the family members, we're living our best lives. Mom's always traveling everywhere. And she signed a document. Somebody would pick him up in a bus and then send him to a home. It's the most horrible existence he can go through. We're literally hoping the government is going to keep him alive relatively long enough.
Yeah.
But he has no language skills to defend himself.
So basically, they might say, well, he wanted to go and do MAID, and that I hope not. I really, because now that I know so much information and I'm now at the place where I can talk for myself and not just sit in a room quietly anymore. That is the scariest thing with my aunt, because we're going to see this happen. And then with my uncle, my grandmother's brother, like I remember him getting the hearing aid, but it didn't clue on me that he was on ODSP till I got older. Even that, he just got into housing. He's like 65. My grandma's like, how come you're not in housing? Well, I didn't want to wait 20 years on the waiting list. Plus, when I got this apartment, they called me, said to look at an apartment. I had keys to this apartment. And you're telling me to go look at another apartment when I'm in this apartment moving in.
Yeah.
And the reason I moved in is because I went back and got my stripper license to make money. It wasn't like, oh, I magically found it. I worked my ass off to get the apartment. I did everything. I did everything they needed to get me into this apartment.
Minnie, have you heard, also another question, I guess, regarding policy? Have you heard anything where PWD in Ontario, like ODSP, are being discriminated against, like housing, just for instance, like market housing, where maybe like other, say, a worker, or maybe just word from on the street. So basically, like, word of people saying
an apartment management company.
Yeah, well, the apartment manager will say, hey, We don't want
We
you
don't
using
t-
your support portion to basically pay the rent. Like
Oh,
how
I know with my
I-
building, so my building was on the news in CBC Marketplace where
Mhm.
the tenant on the first floor,
Mhm.
because he's on the first floor, it gets flooded, there's bugs and things like that. But then he doesn't keep the apartment clean. So the building, for me, they do every request I ask for. I just have to give them space to do their job. That, and then there was another person in the building, depending on how the mail is delivered. Some people, their keys get stuck, the mailboxes are open. I've seen other people's pay stubs from ODSP. I'm gonna admit, I opened one of them. So it was 1169. But it's the because the building takes the pay direct from ODSP office,
Oh,
you
okay.
don't really know who's on ODSP unless you see a pay stub downstairs.
Yeah, service provider.
So
Yeah.
as far as I know, my building lets people in who are on disability because I'm on it. Two other tenants I know for sure are on it, and then probably other people, but they're working. So like with my building, a lot of us are working. So even if we're on a disability, where
There's
sometimes the
income.
mail doesn't get delivered properly, I can see the pay stubs. There's only like 3 of them that are not working, but eventually they're going to be pushed out because the rent goes up every year. Like the
Right.
rent
Yes.
goes, like if whatever guideline increase the building can take, they're taking it. So when
Yeah.
this person decides to go to the news and complain about the rent being unaffordable for him because he's on disability, this building wants people to move out. They
Yes.
want
Yeah.
higher income people to be in the building. Like even
Yeah,
though
that-
yes, it's a low income neighborhood in St. Jamestown, this building is a private corporation that bought
I
out
lived in there.
4
I
other
lived in there.
buildings. 4 other buildings. So because they bought out 4 other buildings, they're
Yeah.
circling, they're cycling out the tenants. They're cycling out who lives here.
Yeah, they kind of push them
I
out
had
way to
I
kind of irritate them so that they'll move so they can jack up the rent. And I know Dan's got a question.
Yeah, Dan's got his hand up. Yeah.
Yeah, now I'll come right over to you, Ellen, right after that.
No, I was just going to say very quickly for the people in Toronto. So just before, I'll put it in a nice way, just before I was asked kindly to leave the city, what I started to do was actually implement a program in our office anyway, where we had an actual list because it is really hard here, especially in Toronto, like fucking for anybody to find an apartment that's on any kind of assistance. So I actually had a list going on of landlords that I had compiled that would no doubt, no questions asked, rent to people on any type of assistance. So in Toronto, I don't know if they've implemented it across the board because I was in Scarborough, but I would try to when you're on the list waiting for housing and stuff, try to contact your constituency staff or your local counselor and ask them if they have a low income or what. I don't remember the wording they put on it, but it was a low income list for low income individuals to find landlords for affordable housing until they were
And the
placed in.
like the Wellesley office had a list. So when I went but it was the building beside mine that's always on fire. Like,
Oh,
I think I know
okay.
that building.
so
I
even
think I
though
know
like
that.
because this neighborhood is still considered low income, even though the rent is still average $2,000. Like when I checked the 1 bedroom one's almost 1,900, but depending on which building it is, because they have newer buildings and they have the older buildings.
Mhm.
But you're gonna have to work. It's not like you can just live in a place with just your fixed income and live. It's not gonna happen. It's gonna run out. I did the math. You see my spreadsheets. I calculate everything.
The vacancy in BC, I'm sure you saw that the other day, Brent.
Yeah.
The vacancy in BC is like 1 to 1.5% right now.
Well, yeah, because like on the news, they're saying that Vancouver, and now Victoria's now kind of slipped behind, actually behind Toronto. So it's almost neck and neck of the vacancy, the what's available now. What the market is based on right now is the current tenants that are actually, and it's kind of misleading really, because it's like saying, well, the current tenants that are actually occupied are what the stats are going upon. They're not talking about the tenants who are now looking for a place, because the ones looking for a place now, the rents are actually even higher. So they're saying, well, the median rents. And so you're bang on that, Minnie, is that yeah, there's scrupulous landlords out there. They it's an investment. They just want to get the tenant pushed out. They can jack up the rent. Sky's the limit, and then they can rent it out for $500-$600 more a month. I was on the radio this morning. I was talking to the opposition, well, maybe premier. I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen in the next election? But I had a chance of actually
When we had the blackout, like I ended up going downstairs to the lobby and talking with neighbors. They were offered $5,000 to move to the townhouses that the building bought. So there's on Sherburne, there's townhouses that the building bought, and they want to rent them out to the longest living tenants. I'm in that bracket. I've been here for 16 years. They could offer me a deal. But the thing is, even if they offer me money to move and I move, ODSP is not going to cover the moving.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the problem. And then
they got rid of that.
Like I literally can move in and stay there for 2 months, and then what? Then I'm using credit cards to pay the rent because, and then a caseworker is going to be dumb and be like, "Oh, your rent is too high." I'm like, "Look, I live in downtown. You're my downtown office. This is what it costs."
Yeah. And that was my question I had on the radio this morning was, what are you going to do for low income renters, not just the high end income earners?
They changed the definition of affordable. So like Olivia Chow was saying that she passed something to build affordable housing, but they consider affordable housing almost $1,500 a month in rent.
Yeah.
So if they change the criteria for affordable
for who?
And then
I think in BC they had affordable at 2,500, didn't they?
Exactly. So if they keep changing the benchmark for affordable,
like,
and they want you to strive to minimum wage jobs at the minimum target of their success rate, that means you have to make minimum $35,000 to be considered a success rate of leaving ODSP or leaving Ontario Works. Then you're still not going to be at the benchmark for housing costs because the median income in Toronto is $65,000.
Well, what I found, Minnie, is trying to rent from a corporate landlord. There was 8 of them. And I'm not going to mention all of them, but some huge corporate landlords in there. Some of them were across Canada. And one of them said we had to be making minimum $5,000 a month for affordable housing. And I look, and the rent was actually 14. One was $1,410. The other one was $1,535. My rent at the time, I was renting from a corporate landlord. My rent at the time was $1,775. And so I'm actually saying, hey, I can pay that rent. It's less, but they wouldn't rent to me because I wasn't bringing in $5,000 a month. I said, well, get the government to give you extra $1,000 more a month, and then we'll rent to you. I'm like, the government's not going to do that.
Yeah. So like
I had an interesting thing. So when I moved to Toronto in 2008, I moved into Jamestown, and I was one building back from the school with the track. In fact, I was very close to the school with the track. I think my apartment looked up the other direction, but I was paying $1,066 for a 2-bedroom because I had my son living with me. And by the time I moved out, there were units going out. By the time 2015 rolled around, that same $1,000 apartment I was renting was almost 14 in that building. And I ended up moving into the co-op at the corner of Wellesley and Sherburne, which is Earnscliffe. Many would know it. It's got the big wrought iron gates. Two on the front on Wellesley, and then one on that side road where the corner store is near Food Basics. But I was in Jamestown for a good year and a half before I got into the co-op. But it used to be Cadillac Fairview. It used to be run really well. All those units in Jamestown used to be a Cadillac Fairview, but Cadillac Fairview started selling them off to independent management companies. And when we were looking for a place for me and my son, my mom was going to be the co-signer because she was his guarantor, legal guarantor. And we went to a couple of management companies, and they were like, "Oh, we don't rent to people on ODSP." I'm like, "That's fine. I have a co-signer right here." And they said, "Oh, your mom's not currently working, so it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant that she's a retired professor of 40 years."
Oh, wow.
We're like, "Really?" And she looked right at me and pointing to me like I wasn't even there. She said, "We don't want his kind here."
Wow.
But
So
so with applying in apartments, especially if they're run by corporate people, they change the staff a lot. So with my building,
Yeah.
I've been here for 16 years. You know what time they change the staff? Where the tenants know they're changing staff. Every time they do their annual check-ins to do the safety checks on the units, I know they change the staff.
Mhm.
Like I'm
Ah,
literally telling the people, I live here longer than you've been working here.
Mhm.
So there's that. Like when I was supposed to be evicted from this apartment before I got approved on ODSP, and I'm looking at apartments and they're trying to downsize me to walk-up buildings and bachelor units where basically everything is one giant room. I
yeah,
was like,
yeah.
no, I came from a one
Yeah.
bedroom. The only reason I'm here is because I couldn't, like, the rent is just not paid. Because my mom claimed she couldn't have $5,000, but she claimed she makes a six-figure job. So, like, there's a whole environment of, great, your families are trying to help you. What were
Mhm,
they doing? They know you're on low income. They know things suck. Either they're completely ignoring it
mhm.
or they
Which
really
is
think you'll get a job and go to work. So like the ableism starts in your family. And then if you're out there trying to
yes.
trying to make it, like my grandmother and her brother, my grandmother helps my brother helps my uncle all the time. Him being deaf, him being on disability, but then he works. But I remember when she's telling me she's moving him into the housing building that she bought
Mhm.
him all the furniture. I'm like, okay, great. But not every family member is going to be 100% devoted to helping you, or they really feel like you can do it on your own. Because and
Mhm.
then now, like how my prescription for the vitamin D is not covered by ODSP, and then it got rejected in the exceptional access program, which is the other part of the Ontario government health benefit. It's still going to cost me $50 for it.
Mhm.
Luckily,
Uh-huh.
I yes, 2 o'clock in the morning, I apply for another credit card. I have another credit card coming. It's going to pay for it. But my mom really thinks the government's paying for all my prescriptions.
Yeah.
So when I
Okay.
told her, I was like, no, they don't. And
She
I told her,
believes the lie.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
that's where the
do.
pink
They
unicorns
fully
come in.
Yeah.
do. They believe the
Yeah.
lie. They believe the system is there to help us. They don't
Yeah.
believe the government's making cuts, like how my
Mhm.
doctor may or may not cut me as a patient. If I
Mhm.
Mhm.
lose her as my family, I'm so screwed.
Yeah.
And it's because the history I have with this person for 20 years, and then hope I find it with somebody else who's not
Right.
going to talk down at me or condescending or all
Mhm.
those things at the same time. Like the level of everything in the system has to be in place for you to thrive.
Yeah.
And if anything falls apart, yeah, you're SOL.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dan, you got your
Yeah.
hand up again. I'll go back to Dan.
Yeah, I just want to say very quickly because I got to take off here, but I just want to say very quickly, thanks for doing this show here. I can't wait to see you guys Friday for the 100th.
Yeah,
But
that'll be exciting.
yeah, but just thanks to Alan and MJ there for what they do, and Minnie, I'll be talking to you soon because I don't know how you're not in an office or actually working in one of these offices. Your work
Because
and
I'm
charts and
black and I'm
everything.
smart. I don't need to be in a white person office to have them come. No, no. I've seen what they do, the people that are people of color in office. They treat
That
us horrible.
that should be a title on your book. Because I'm black and because I'm smart. Put that on a book title.
Like
Mhm.
I'm not. I already have enough political fire right now. We're dealing with the disability and my doctor right now because doctors are not going to family medicine. So if doctors
Mhm.
don't go to family medicine, that means we don't have advocates that are fighting for us.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the it's a ableist society, right? And it's I mean the government knows all what should be done and what shouldn't be done, but
And
if for
NDP
some
with their
reason,
little circus act of trying to act like we need farmer care, it's never going to happen.
well, here's something that's going to here's something I'll throw this in, even though it's not a policy within ODSP like Ontario, but one of our housing announcements, and I mean you guys to chime in on this one. So, the current government, okay, I'm not going to dive too much into this, but our current government about housing, right? So they're saying that anyone who's making $84,000 up to $191,000 is going to have a subsidized housing plan to get them housed. But what about low income? What about people from low income up to moderate? Now the opposition government that wants to get into power. Now I threw this on the radio this morning. I said, what are you going to do to help low income people get into that housing? Oh well, we want to. My proposal is to get big developers to do a 99-year. Yeah, you heard it right. A 99-year lease onto Crown land. Okay, at a dollar per each landlord. So then they say that the tenant or the person who wants to go and rent, they'll be able to do it for 3 years, and the money that they put into that rent will be actually their mortgage. But the person has to qualify to be a renter. And one of the callers who called in said, well, okay, well, what about if I don't have that money? Am I already struggling to pay rent? How am I going to do that? Well, then I guess it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like,
They know it
I
doesn't
would-
work. They know, like, even the dental health plan that they just made, the benchmark, the low income benchmark to get the new dental benefit is $77,000.
Yeah.
That's where it starts. Then
You-
they assumed you'll get on another government program. Like, if you get a private dental plan, then apply for the government federal dental plan, you don't qualify. And then if you're on, so like they said, if you're on ODSP and you're trying to get the federal dental plan, you can't have both at the same time. You have to rotate which one you're getting, which means, and it's through Sun Life. So Sun Life is issuing out the payments for the plan, and then the dentist office has to agree to be in that plan.
Okay.
The dentist is obviously going to try to get the higher one, the one that
yeah.
pays them the most.
Well,
But
yeah.
if the government is there approving it or denying it,
Yep.
it's just an extra battle. Like, already my dentist doesn't like that I'm an ODSP. The minute I say I'm an ODSP, they instantly say, I hate that insurance.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because they're so outdated, and because they have a fee schedule. Now in BC, they got a fee schedule, and now
But
that
they're
fee
just gonna
schedule is so
cancel each other
outdated.
out.
It's like 2017 fee schedule right now, and it's 2024. And so whatever would normally the dentist would charge to have a procedure done, they basically the government's only paying this much, and meanwhile the cost is this much, so they can't get that much work done. And now the patient's health gets compromised.
So is ODSP playing the club? If someone approved
Over
for
to
the
you,
new
James.
if people on ODSP got approved for the new NDP dental plan, is ODSP going to claw that back in some way, or
No,
they?
it's different. So, like, because it's a health benefit. It's not an income benefit. It's a health benefit. The health benefit, ODSP and the federal government will just choose. The dentist office will just choose. So, like, even now, when you go to the dentist and you need something done in the dentist, they send in their requests in their computer, and then they tell you right away, roughly, like how I know my prescription for vitamin D got rejected. Like, I dropped off the prescription. The pharmacist said they'll call me. They call me. They said it's rejected. How do you want to pay for this? I freaked out and said, no, I can't afford it. Then I called back and found out it's $35, which is not like horribly expensive. It's
Right,
just
but it can add up.
annoying. And it's pretty much for life of me taking vitamin D because what are the doctors finding in my blood work?
Right.
But it's the same thing with the dental plan. You just present, this is my coverage. The office runs the insurance, the office, and then it happened when I was a kid. I'm in the dentist's office getting my stuff done. I'm on my dad's insurance. The dentist told me in the chair, I'm no longer covered.
Yeah.
How am I paying for this? Then I'm like, call my dad because I have no idea. I think his insurance would cover me. I didn't know that the insurance wouldn't cover me till I turned 26. Nobody told me. Nobody planned an exit strategy of me not being on family insurance versus me independently on my own.
Well, that's what happened to me. Minnie is, I said same situation. I remember years ago sitting in the dentist chair, and the dentist walks up with a chart, your medical chart for the dentist. And so this is what I need to do. I go, okay. Now, based on your coverage, I can only do this much, Brent, which is a tiny little bit. Now, I need to do this much. So how are you going to want to pay for that? Equal payment plans over 3 months? What? Yeah, I mean, I can make an exception. I could do it over 6 months for you. I mean, my receptionist will probably say 3 months. I don't have that kind of money. Well, we need to set up a dental plan then. And so he wrote up a letter, typed it all out. I want you to give it to the government of the day. Now, this is years ago, government of the day and the opposition. I gave it to both. And he says, I'm going to make 4 copies because I want you to give one to the ministry, which is none of their business, he said, by the way, but I want them to have it just to make a point. I want you to give one to the opposition, one to the government, and I want you to keep a copy. Like, okay, and I've got the master copy here if something goes sideways. They all turned it down. all of both government and the opposition. You know why? The opposition at the time said, I need to budget better, watch my finances better. And they weren't even in government at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Budget better? I'm already on a shoestring budget. They're like, well, you need to cut back somewhere. So I go to the current, the actual government that was actually in power. They said the same damn thing to me. So I'm thinking, okay, so going
right
forward,
you are, Brent. I'll make sure I stop breathing half a week.
Well, you know what I said? I go, oh, I said, I guess I better not eat healthy then and cut back on that, right? Gee. But anyway, so going forward, I mean, it's ableist, like it's an ableist situation. It's like my dentist looked at it as preventable. We want to prevent a problem from actually happening and progressing worse going forward. So we actually like to correct things, Brent. My job, he says, as a dentist, is to prevent problems from reoccurring or progressing to get worse. We want to save teeth, not to make lose teeth, right? And I said, right. And he goes, so the government loves to do the cheapest way possible, right? So they'll say, well, let's do it this way. I say, no, let's do it this way, as it's more of a permanent thing, as long as it can be permanent. So, you know, kind of getting to what you mentioned, it's, you know, the coverage. I don't know what's going to happen with this so-called pharmacare plan, dental plan that the feds want to make the announcement. One of my neighbors doesn't believe a word of it. Yeah.
But the dental plan, you can apply for it in May or June of this year. So we'll know by next year. We'll know by
July.
Yeah.
But I mean, next year how well it's doing. But MJ had his hand up.
Yeah, I just have two quick comments. One is that you know, my son Jake is going to need a new pair of glasses, and I'm already assuming that they're not going to cover it, just like my wheelchair. I'm already assuming that just because of what happened last time with my wheelchair. That's the number one thing. And the other thing I was going to say is going back to my earlier comment about, you know, everybody with a disability, like we all care about our health. Like I care about my health. I know you care about your health, Brent. I know MJ cares about his health. I know Minnie cares about her health. We all care about our health. And this idea that, you know, like the government should care about our health too. I mean, like I'm living to avoid going into the hospital. And that should be the mentality of all government too. It's like, let's avoid getting people into the hospital because that's even bigger bill. But they don't think that way. They don't think that way. Like, why?
The problem, you know, is that they go, person on disability dies but is relatively healthy. That means that organs are profitable. And unfortunately, people with disabilities are right in the crosshairs of, hey, if the guy dies, but his ticker and his liver and his kidneys are good to go, we're going to make some bang here.
We're going to save more on our healthcare system. Yeah. I'm going to lean the mic over to MJ there.
Well, you know, I mean, I've been sitting here listening to the program, and I'm sitting here going and thinking, you know, when it comes to solutions, it truly feels like the government doesn't want to have a solution. They want to have a patchwork quilt that's falling apart. So when you just get it, you know, just figure out how this thing is holding itself together, they change the rules again. And to me, it just seems like
magic unicorns.
Yes, absolutely the magical unicorns. But the point is they are deliberately making this system completely broken so that people can't get ahead or try to get off this system because they keep changing the rules so often. It's like, stop making our lives more difficult, you know. And you know, when it comes to healthcare, this is the problem. It's like, oh, you turn 19, you're no longer on this healthcare plan from parents, or you're no longer covered under this, you're no longer covered under that. And this is where, you know, to me, with like a universally available basic income, a person would be able to say, okay, well, now you're 19, you can just get your own insurance, pay for your own insurance, right? Or you can join the general group insurance. I mean, the way these people have set this system up has deliberately created multiple barriers to being able to get off the system. or become financially independent, or become independent enough that you don't need this system. They don't want to go and solve the problem, and to me, it just behooves me to think that, yeah, well, they say we're here to help, but at the same time, they're not. So when it comes to all of these restrictions they put on whether you need to go and get new glasses, well, I was going to say, Neil, they'll pay for half the glasses,
Right.
Monocle glass, like a Mr. Peanut.
Well,
exactly.
So they'll actually pay for your frames, but not your lenses.
Right. It's like, but they won't pay for the eye exam as well. So this is what they do, is they've set this up so that there's certain things they'll pay for, but with people with disabilities, so it's like, well, you got to start trying to scrape together $5 every other month to be able to go and put this together so you can afford this exam. Or if you're lucky and have a credit card, you can just put it on there. I mean, most people that are on disability don't have a good credit rating, right? So they can't get a good credit card, right?
Well, it's not that they don't have a good credit rate. We're making huge assumptions about like my credit rating is good. I literally got approved for the card last night because I rebuilt my credit. But they want you to be self-sufficient. They want you to work. It's not design broken. It's designed exactly to do process of elimination. They designed it to eliminate certain populations. They've accomplished that. If their goal was to filter out classism and divide people, they did that. We don't we're acting like their goal was to help everybody. No, maybe their goal really is to help 1% of people all the time. Because every document I showed you says 1%, 1%, this population, this dedicated population. Everything is designed that way. 77,000 income threshold, 65% income threshold, $1,000 income threshold. They are filtering out exactly who they're helping.
Yeah.
And if they can, it's a funnel. When we search for things online, we filter out what we're searching for until we find what we're looking for. They did that with this system.
Yeah, that's why they throw little breadcrumbs here. Here, you can have a little bit this year. Next year, we'll skip a year.
And that's what I feel like they do that with the rent subsidies too. It's like, well, we're offering subsidies to 10% of the population, so job done. We've done it. 10% have it, so that's good enough.
Because that's why, like, when politicians are debating in their offices of how many people they helped and congratulate themselves on the back, it's because they do it in a way that there's a statistical number of people they know that successfully went through the hardest game they can make up. For every video game that you play that's so hard, you have to look for cheat codes. This is what they did.
Okay.
The amount of, remember how Super Mario now has the computer passes the game for you. You can't pass it after 18 tries. Or before you sat there all day long to save the princess. Great. They know exactly what they're doing. They either make it an easy level or a hard level. Either you can solve the Rubik's Cube or you can't solve the Rubik's Cube.
And my point is because they've made it so hard, they've made the systems deliberately ornery. It just adds to this fuel of, it's like, for example, talking about BC is where it's like when you go up and call somebody to go and ask a question, you can never get the same answer twice. You can never go and get the correct information. You can never go and get, a way to get ahead, right? Because these people don't know what they're talking about most of the time. So we're dealing with an inadequate education process, obviously, for them. But no one is saying, you're the first person I've come across that says, hey, educate yourself on the system to understand how to get the hell out of here, right? You're the only one, Minnie, that I've come across that, and I've seen a lot of people that are saying, hey, you too can become successful from disability to move forward. And, this is, where, to me, the amount of information you've given has been very enlightening. And it'd be interesting to see if there's a process for the other 12 jurisdictions, provincial jurisdictions, and territorial jurisdictions in this province for the same thing, to to help people move forward, to be able to say, hey, okay, you can become self-employed and you can get off the system, and tell them to go have a nice day, right? You don't need them.
Have a nice day. Yeah,
have a nice day.
I have it on my screen. So, like, I had Alberta. Where's Alberta?
Have a nice day. Yeah, I like
Like,
that.
There's a issue.
this is all the Alberta stuff since 2017. Which thing would move? So this guide has everything for Alberta. The
Wow.
only thing I didn't know if Alberta had was a transitional health benefit. And then I could dig around more and find their income clawback chart. But it's exact. This is pretty much exactly like ODSP. Like how the income and assets are here.
They have it quite organized, really. Wow.
Yeah, Alberta is a little bit organized. Like if you're telling me that BC is actually, you know what? Can someone post in the chat BC's thing, and then I can dig around and see if there's a easier to read one?
Yeah.
Because
or MJ, I think you have it. Yeah.
This is Alberta. Where was the other one? Here's also Alberta. Here's the policy guide for Alberta. It's the smallest guide I ever read.
Oh.
This is everything for Alberta.
Maybe they started it.
It's like 9 sections. That's it. It's fantastic. But remember I told you the Dave Ramsey baby steps?
Oh yeah, baby steps.
It's pretty much the same thing because, okay, so here's assets.
Used to hear that line all the time, Neil, baby steps.
Okay, so here they said exempt assets are not counted towards $100,000 limit, which I'm not sure what that is, but their limit is $100,000 limit. So if you plan your investment portfolio properly, then you know how to plan to leave Alberta. You need to know their income clawback for every single month, which means I need to make a whole nother chart like this for Alberta.
It's almost like they give you little hints. It's like a little game. Well, here's the little hint.
They give you the clue, and then you put it together. They're not going to put it together for you. They're like they're not like they think when you go through the employment agency, that the employment agency will help you, but they don't. And the reason I know they don't, it's when I watch. There's an ODSP employment support YouTube video that they did at a conference, some disability conference, where most of us won't know about it unless you're in the employment service agency industry. If you're not a person who works in an employment agency, you wouldn't know these conferences are going around. They're not conferences that advertise in the disability offices that we could go to get more information how to leave disability. Like when I got on ODSP, they had this joint job fair thing that I went to. There's one disability job fair at the Metro Convention Center. They had a lot of, like, it was a big thing, but they never happened again. And so just that, like they don't repeat conferences that could help people leave disability.
Here's the thing that's really messed up. I don't know if they do that in Ontario or any other province, but I mean in BC. So borrow deposit. Okay, here's the thing. So I got a neighbor of mine who goes around, collects all these ones, comes to our place. I mean, we got all these bins outside, and they just go in there collecting all these bottles, bags and bags and bags. I mean, you're talking like 30, 40 bags this one guy's got. So he took them all down to the depot. Some of them, people paid their deposit. So the guy goes down and takes them down, and then he has to now declare it to the ministry. Apparently he's on disability. He declares it to the ministry because it's income. And what does the ministry do? They take it off his check. And some of it's actually the money that he's paid into for that deposit. But now they deduct it off him because they said it's not classified as employment income. Like, what the heck? Like, that makes no sense to me.
There's a decentralization. I'm looking at I've got this thing called Passport right now, which is run through the Disability Service Ontario. It's a program called Passport. I think it's only available in Ontario. Other provinces may have the equivalent. I've got a maximum of $1,500 per year of the Passport, which is $5,000. I think mine might be a bit more. And I'm working with an agency called Lean On Me that will pay up front on my behalf, and then what's the word I'm looking for? They'll claim it to Passport, but there's a $1,500 amount of electronic devices I can access through Passport, and because I'm using Lean On Me, they take 10%, so they get $500 a year. to help me. But what I'm trying to do right now is offer a content creator service as a photographer, so that I can fly a small drone over someone who's doing a photo shoot. I can run and gun with a gimbal and photograph someone who's filming content, like on a if someone's doing a model shoot and they want B-roll. So I'm trying to see if this is viable. I can't claim any more right now on this fiscal chunk of passport, but in April I'll be applying because I've applied for a hard drive, a gimbal, L bracket, and I think the Zoom 8.6. So I've hit my $1,300 for this year. But in April of this year, it starts over again at top up. I can't roll it over. So they were like, hey, anything electronic you want to claim right now, claim it now. Right? Because you're on the tail end of it.
Oh, geez.
So that's what I'm doing. I'm like,
Okay.
I set my links on Amazon. I'm like, I'll take as much as I can qualify for. But my end goal is, if I've got access to $1,300 in assistive devices, whether it's an iPad, a phone, or a gimbal, or whatever, then I can use it for f-stop pictures as a service to other content creators, because I know that when you're trying to shoot something as a content creator, you can't be, unless you have a second guy with you. Even if you're using a bottom end vlogger camera, to have someone running next to you filming what you do,
right,
it's very hard to do. So my service is a content creator package. I just got to figure out the wording so I can put it on my flyer and I can put it on my website, so that I can be kind of doing the B-roll for anybody that might be a real estate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my idea. I don't know if it's viable yet, but
Sounds
my
interesting.
idea is to do.
I wanted to sing the song, "Lean on Me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend.
Your friend
I'll
will
help you carry on."
So
that's what I thought of when you said "lean on me."
Yeah.
That's what I thought I would do, because for me as a disabled photographer or a disabled Canadian, I know that with my cerebral palsy, I have barriers as far as social cues and stuff. But if I'm in my zone and I've got my camera and I've got the tools like a gimbal that's heavy enough to carry the camera, hold the weight of the camera with a lens on it, I can use that 13 grand worth of assets I've accumulated over the last 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, the tools actually, to help you to progress.
Right.
To do,
so I want, like many, I want to stay on the self-employment track, because as soon as I go for an interview, whether it's at a restaurant, I mean, I lucked out at Swiss Chalet. They needed a day dishwasher, and they needed it badly. So I lucked out. I fit a slot of 4 hours a day, 4 days a week, times a week, that they were missing, that they couldn't hire because their students, their student dishwashers weren't free till after 3 p.m. So it was perfect.
And you can take pictures. You can take pictures of all the clean dishes too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, look, I just want my DTC disability tax credit sorted. That's what I'm trying to work on right now, because I need a doctor. But I'm thinking the content creator service might be the ticket as far as jobs go.
Thanks, Alan.
We've reached the top of the hour again.
I have a question. So, like, is this the British Columbia? Is this their website?
That's part of it.
Yes.
That's part of it.
Okay.
Find the
well,
because
you found the word policy. That's impressive.
In BC, there's two acts. There's the persons with disabilities, and then there's the persons that that need assistance.
PPMB.
PPMB.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's PPMB, and then there's the regular welfare. There's two separate acts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ontario's the same
Two-tiered.
thing. Just the only thing is, me pointing this out, they tell you how to be self-employed. They tell you what they're supporting on self-employment. So if, like, when you're telling me that the caseworkers don't know this, I found it in our time together, what, 2 hours less? I don't know.
Yeah, it's about 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, go figure.
I'm impressed that you found the word policy anywhere. That's good.
well, I mean, I look for the same thing. I look for Alberta. I look for self-employment, disability, British Columbia. What came up in my search? This came up, British Columbia Disability Program Self-Employment. That's what I look for. I'm not looking for anything.
Meanwhile, the workers can't find it.
I'm not looking for anything super complicated, but their program is pretty much similar to Ontario.
I think they like to copy and paste each other.
They do. Any government law and policy, they're lazy. They either copy another country or they copy another province. They make it as lazy patchwork as they can.
And but this is why my program won't do that.
The point is, you make there's webinars for the CRA and City of Toronto for small business. Like, there's a small business conference. So if you're self-employed and you're proving your business idea, you may, like, because now a lot of things are virtual. Like, Wood Green has their tax clinic right now that they're helping people file their self-employment tax returns with TurboTax, because they made a deal with TurboTax. You may just have to go outside of your province and then bring it to your caseworker in your province. Of like, I went through this program for self-employment, because you're not telling me where the self-employment program is in my city. Like, like with Kingston, there may be the city hall. Like for Toronto, it's the city hall. Toronto City Hall has a self-employment small business workshops, seminars, and then the CRA website, Eventbrite has them all the time. Like, I'm like, how I quickly search self-employment British Columbia, I type in self-employment networking or self-employment workshops, or I travel to the US and go to the like VidCon for the YouTube conference, like, and then Funnel Hacker Live with Russell Brunson. I'm not sitting around waiting for them to tell me anything. I'm telling you, I'm self-employed. I'm doing any activity to remain self-employed, and this is the program I chose. And I get the receipts. Here you go. VIP ticket. Yes, I did. Interview with these people, like Tony Robbins, when they did the Tony Robbins thing. Yeah, it's the receipt. You saw the YouTube video of me talking to Tony Robbins. Like, it's not. Because this system is already broken. They designed it that way. So then the things you want out of the system or life, you have to make it yourself. It's like how my new credit card is going to pay for my health insurance. Yes, I literally have to lock up that card in the closet and make sure it pays the health insurance. I can't touch that card. I can't max out that card. I can't go a little shopping spree on easy payments from Shopping Channel. It has to be there to pay the health insurance. Because if that credit card is there paying the health insurance and I pay the payments to cover the bill of them paying the health insurance, I know for sure at least that credit card pays for health insurance. Then when I make more money and then disability says you have too much assets, for the section I have excess assets, which was like 4.2. Yeah, I want them to send me the letter. I have too much assets. That's great. Then I can move on and live my life without them. I'm still going to qualify for disability tax credit. I'm still going to qualify for private disability insurance, because I learned that private disability insurance can give you coverage for a diagnosis you don't have yet. So great. We have our current disability right now. You may get another one, a stroke, heart attack, any other illness that's out there that you don't have coverage for, and you don't make money to have coverage, you could be screwed. Like, totally. The government is going to be like, oh, sorry, you're already on disability. Like, that's all they're going to tell you.
Yeah.
Like, when you do your medical review and you have another condition on top of your existing condition that got you approved for disability, that's it. You're not going to get more money from the government if you get another diagnosis. But if you have money paying for a disability critical illness insurance plan, then you get diagnosed with something else, you could get money from that. Like, I know if I go with Edge Benefits and I get the critical disability plan, that payout is $50,000. It will instantly kick me off disability, but I'm aware of it, I can plan it, and I'm not surprised. We're
I
acting
remember,
like
I remember
we're acting like
years
everything
ago,
is a surprise when everything is planning. I showed you everything I could find,
yeah,
and I
I
showed you
remember years ago,
exactly
man,
how to plan it.
the,
So the only
work,
thing is, either you need someone to break down the instructions for you to do it, or you just have to make your own money and cover your own six at the same time.
yeah, because like all these different subsidies, like in BC, they used to have workers all the time, and they would they would say, well, apply for all these different subsidies and see and get all
I
those.
inspired MJ to say something. He should say something before he forgets.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually going and reading through the self-employment stuff, and basically they want you to deal with Work BC. And
Yeah.
for those of us who have dealt with Work BC, we find how unhelpful they really are.
It's not worth going.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
It doesn't like that's the system you're in. So what I learned, even though my caseworkers don't understand self-employment, I give them their knowledge and I
Mhm.
ask them, what senior supervisor do you have that knows this information?
Mhm.
Because either they know it or they have to go ask somebody who's done it. Somebody in the office must have done it. Like we're not the first person to be self-employed. We're not the first person to make a business plan. That means somebody in the office paid attention in training, because
Yeah.
there's always somebody who pays attention in training. I'm not one of them. The only reason I know this disability stuff is my survival.
Mhm.
If you're wondering why I know this, my survival depends on me knowing this information so I'm not like controlled by the government. Like
Mhm.
I'm surviving from trauma and I'm right back in more trauma. I'm not doing that.
Well, you made a good point though, Minnie, because it's almost like all of our social assistance systems are set up in a way like if I walk into the office, it's like they've never seen somebody with a disability before. Oh, this is the first. I've never seen this before.
Well,
I'm
This guy showed
surprised,
up. Does he want donuts?
But like
yeah.
aren't all these programs built from the 70s? It's not like they're brand new.
Yeah,
But for
way
some
back
reason these programs are set up like, wow, a disabled person, what do we do now?
Well, because
It's
a lot of these
almost like it's
workers-
set up that way. It's like
Well, the
crazy.
thing is, Neil, a lot of these workers that they encounter, you walk up and they'll say, take a number next, and you walk up. Oh, we're dealing with a disabled person today. We're not dealing with income assistance or AK
Yeah.
welfare. When
Great,
these
they get
things
to
are-
do their job. Like really,
Yeah.
like I'm not
Yeah.
even going to feel sorry for them.
No.
Today you're doing your job. Today you're doing
Exactly.
research. Ask your supervisor, ask the senior who worked
Yep.
here the longest, who's worked here for 10. Is it Mary worked here for 10 years? Is it Bill who worked here for 30 years? I need to know the most senior person on the floor who's seen as many cases as possible to help me.
Yeah, and one
They're
of the things
called
that I
assistants.
look
They
for,
can
one
help
thing
you.
because one thing I look for is making sure that these workers do not talk down to a person, right? Make them feel belittled. Have are you living within your means? Why do you need this? Why do you need that? Like
I don't think that's a good idea. You might get hurt.
Yeah.
You should
Mhm.
stay at home. Yeah, I've got. I remember I was living with two people, and they're like, "Oh, I don't feel you're safe to cook in the house, Alan. So we're gonna do all the cooking." I'm like, "Well, have you? Oh, what the hell?"
Then
Like,
watch me
that's
boil an egg first, and then we can decide if I'm cooking. I can make oxtail and a roast chicken by myself.
Oh, good news. Yeah.
And you're telling
um,
me I need super. No, that's not going to happen. You know how many times I cut off a fingernail and I still feel like
Oh yeah, I
And
know.
it ends up in the soup. I mean,
extra
you know
protein.
what's in there. If you're cooking for
Extra
yourself
protein.
and your fingernail landed in the soup, you just
Oops.
eat very slowly and pay
Yeah.
attention. That is
Yeah,
all.
crunch. Whoops. Oh, hang on.
well, yeah, I lived with the two people in Kingston and Niagara, and overall they were actually pretty wonderful people. But I was making eggs or something, and I just happened to have something simple. And after that, they were like, "Oh, please don't cook in our hut." And they started easing up after a while when they
But it's
saw I
not
could
like they're
make a
paying
spaghetti
attention. Like
sauce.
if I burn the rice, I burn the rice. I still have to eat it.
Yeah,
I learned
yeah.
that if you burn rice, you don't eat the bottom,
No.
you eat all of the top.
Yep.
It's
Waste
relatively
not, want
fine.
not. Yeah, exactly. Mhm.
But it's funny the reflection of society on people that have disabilities. Like, oh,
That
please don't make any.
at this point, it's really their problem. It really is. So like if
Yeah,
Work BC is going to be like a trouble or whatever, there has to be a caseworker an office, a senior manager, a training day that somebody paid attention that understands how to do it. Because the way that I found it, it's written. That means somebody decided to write it. That means they trained it to people in the office. Because it's the same way with the disability side, the self-employment side over in Ontario. Like the caseworker used to send me that booklet 5.4 self-employment every single time I told them I was self-employed. So I read that thing all the time. I memorized it.
Yeah, and a lot of
This
those
is how I know.
work
I don't want to talk to
actually
Carlos. I don't want to talk to Mackenzie at the office because
the
these
feds.
people are dumb. So if I already know which caseworkers are not knowledgeable about something, and I'm already knowledgeable because they kept feeding me the information over and over again, yeah, there has to be a senior person in the office that understands what it is you need to get done.
So you're like, don't send me to Carlos.
No, I fully
talked
said
to him
yes.
last week.
Send me to Carlos.
When the lady said the backup worker is available, I'm like, I hope to God it's not Carlos. I literally instantly
Hey,
said
go
it.
with
It was, I'm not like, no, I don't want to talk to Carlos. Like, no,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's a wonderful person, but for my file, I don't want him on it.
Yeah, stay away.
Well, I was just reading that you're not required to go through Work BC if you're doing the self-employed program.
There you go.
So-
if I didn't dig around the freaking thing, you wouldn't go back there and look again because they change things all the time. So if it says that it's optional, take the option and not using it.
Well, here's a fun fact on that one too. Is Work BC is actually in partnership sponsored by the federal government.
They are.
Yeah. They're actually sponsored by the feds. So the feds and the
There's
provincial
even supposed to be a booklet from the social development whatever for self-employment. I don't know where that book is, but each document says you're supposed to have it.
Yeah, they just make it up on the whim as they go along.
They probably had it at that one moment in time that they had it, and then they gave it to 5 people, and they were good, and they never had it again.
Yeah.
So
Dr. Seuss book. Oh, here.
Yeah, it just, when you start, yes, you've got to poke around, you got to do the research, but it's the way this system is set up in BC without having a dedicated worker. You don't have somebody that's actually working for you and working for your best interest to go and say, hey, have you considered this? I've listened to you talk, yada, 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 or whatever. It's like they're just a call center now to answer the phone and go and say, oh, you got a problem with this? Let's go and see if we can do something about it. But that's about it, right? They don't actually have any relationship with you whatsoever. You're cold calling these people, trying to get help or get assistance, and there's no working with these people. So it's like you're sitting here fighting against a system that's designed to be broken, and you're not dealing with a consistent person at every junction.
Then you have to be the most consistent thing out of the whole thing. Like
Yeah,
the level
because
of notes I have in my apartment of calling CRA or Easy Financial or whoever, I need to make sure when I write dates, I write the year I talk to those people. Like I had to call Canada Post because my mail is not being delivered. And as I'm calling Canada Post, I'm like, my mail is not being delivered. Is that normal? Like I wasn't even sure if the phone call I was doing was a normal phone call. But apparently Canada Post dealt with that thing all the time. So great. I wrote down notes. I wrote down the case number. I wrote down when to call back and follow up. And then hopefully I get my mail. But you have to be the most consistent person in it. You take notes, you read the policy again because it changes without notice. And then great, if you get a caseworker that doesn't know what to do, you literally tell them, who can you ask that knows?
Yeah, they'll call you, and
that's the thing about call centers. Call centers have a chain of command. They have a person they check in with. They have a manager they talk to. They have policy trainings that's supposed to be updated in. Like I remember when I'm looking at Bell Canada, I learned very quickly how to cut off a phone line. I don't know how to reconnect you. It's just like there's just some people in the just expect the call center to not have all your information. But if you take notes, like I called in last week and I spoke to Mary and she said this, like the amount of times I say, did you take notes? Is this note here? Can you write this on my file if it's not there? Because if you're taking all the notes of what you know what to do, you can send them a copy of the fucking notes.
I get the feeling that in the next 5 years, it's going to get to the point where you don't even actually have a worker; you just have a chat bot, especially with the whole benefits thing. Like I'm serious. Like I'll use Wix text. I'll use Wixpix as an example. When I first built F-Stop, when I built Fast 50 photos when I was living in Toronto, when I was doing the pinup stuff, um, I could call Wix.com on their number and I could talk to someone. Hey,
Mhm.
I'm stuck in your dashboard. I don't understand X, Y, and Z. How do I build a sub page within the page? Because I learned how to do it all myself, right?
Mhm.
And I got to do it now. The only difference is now, when I try to do it for f-stop pictures with a brand new thing, because your username is baked into your meta tag. So, like, anytime I send www.stop.pictures.ca, you get a thumbnail saying Fast 50 Photos because it's baked into the username. Even though
Mhm.
you, even though you forwarded your website address
Right.
to GoDaddy, you're still reading as Fast 50 Photos. So I was
Okay.
trying to build that. I was trying to build a new website, and I set up the link, a new email through Gmail, blah blah blah, so for you for the contact page and everything. And I'm
Mhm.
looking at the dashboard, and I'm going, okay, this is on you. I better call Wixpix and get someone to walk me through this because I already have a domain. So what's the deal? And I could not find one phone number. And I mean, I searched Google, I typed in Wixpix contact, and it's all
Oh, wow.
chatbot now, all of it. Um, in fact, the only website I can find now that still has tech support with a human being is Squarespace, and that's $300 a year.
Oh,
Mhm.
Well, see, when it comes to
So
all of this stuff, it's like becoming self-employed. You need a website, you need a business number, you need this, you need that, and all the rest of this. It's you got to go and do it yourself, and you know, building the whole website.
what I was trying to say, MJ, is I can see with people on ODSP, for example, getting pushed onto the My Benefits platform, is that I could see workers
mhm.
getting eliminated to save money by being replaced by chatbots.
Well,
Mhm.
That's not
right.
today, maybe, but
Well, this is where yeah, that may be the future, but when it comes to right now, I mean, we still have these people as a resource to be able to go to if we need their assistance.
Mhm.
So you know, so to me, when it comes to all of
I'm just
this,
finding a lot less human connection when you're calling, whether it's
Use
ODSP
your
or
phone.
anything. It's mostly whether it's
well,
TELUS or whatever. It's more chatbot driven than
well,
it's human driven.
because it's to save money,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
make profits. Say it's profit before people in this world.
Well,
This
Pro-
is
you
Profit
know,
this is
over.
where it's really at.
and let's end the show with this. You're talking about human connection. This is one of the best reasons why I like the move that we did to YouTube is because there's more human connection happening here on this platform
Yes.
in front of video cameras than there ever was in your Twitter Spaces because all your well, I should say just on Twitter, maybe exclusively, is because whenever you're on Twitter, you're just typing like what is it, 140 words, 140
140.
characters,
Yeah.
and that's it. I mean, how much human connection can you have with 140 characters? Not much.
Oh, no, exactly. And you're
Well,
getting
yeah, it's quite
personal.
amazing how much connection you can get with 140 characters. You know,
Well, how much abuse can you handle with 140? We should
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, this is why they created emoticons so you could skip words. Um,
yeah,
you know, this. So when it comes to, you're right, with the human connection, it is going away in favor of computers and automation. You know, this is why I love self checkout. I mean, it's useful until it just doesn't work. And half the
mhm,
time it's like you're sitting here trying to scan, then you scan too many times, and you end up having to wait for somebody that shows up 5 minutes later. So it's like at
Yeah.
this point, you're sitting here fighting with automation, where losing that ability to move things through society in a much more a faster fashion. Because while technology is great, having that human connection with with people and all the rest of this stuff makes it so you move through the till a lot quicker. You move through getting support a lot quicker. Having a single person that would be your worker would help you moving through things quicker. But all of these things of this automation process of, well, we got to figure out ways to save money so we can provide better services, right? Has in a way it's destroyed that connection that people are looking for and want.
That fabric connect, that fabric in life. It's just that, I know what you mean. It
right. I mean, with X Space, it's just like you're talking to random voices on the internet.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people, it's like you'll never see their face, you'll never see, meet them, and they're just passersby in your life, and they come and go.
Yeah.
Right.
And they send me money.
Yeah, there you go.
And I've got a face for radio.
And you're like, thanks for the coffee.
I got a face for radio. So,
but there's more like, what other book do I have? So there's, with making money in life, how like there's ClickFunnels with Russell Brunson, and he makes a sales funnel, and people go through the sales funnel. It's just a matter of enough people seeing the sales funnel that they go through the initial offer. So the initial offer is like $47. The next offer is $197. And typically online sales funnels charges in US dollars. That means $1 US is approximately $1.30 Canadian. Like my ebook on my Buy Me a Coffee, even though it's the ODSP calculator that I called it that does all the things that I showed you, I charge $12 US for it. People are buying it. That means they're paying almost $15 plus tax if they're in Ontario for it. And the receipts come in. So if ODSP says, oh, people are buying you a coffee, how are they doing it? There's direct buy me a coffee because you're giving me money because you want to. Then there's direct buy me a coffee from the shop online, the buy me a coffee shop on the page that charges taxes. There's a direct separation of what is business, what is just some random person send me $100. Which happened last year. I don't know who sent me $100, but if you want to send me $100, fantastic. I'll take it. It'll go into the budget. You'll see the budget. You'll see where I put the money in the budget. And then with connections, you pick and choose. Just certain things are just not going to have a lot of human connection, high touch environments. If disability is becoming more digital, fine, but they're also alienating people that don't have access to digital services or devices with internet access. And then by the time we get enough money to pay for internet service or Wi-Fi access or something like that, it's not going to be enough because Bell and Rogers and everybody has jacked up the prices.
Greedy. Yeah, keep greedy, just jack up the prices.
Everything is about being a gross domestic product in the economy. It's the reason my investments are growing. Like, we can complain about it or we can find a way to be part of it. I'm trying to find a way to be part of it because it's not going to go away. Like when I go into the dentist and they want to charge extra money for whatever they want in the dentist's office, nothing I can do about it. They have bills to pay. I have bills to pay. And I also need my teeth not falling out of my head.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I came up with the content creator package is I haven't quite tweaked it yet, but I'm like, how do I turn a problem into a solution when I know that the content creator, vlogger, online content creator, people on TikTok, whatever, are getting out there more and more? How do I turn this into an advantage situation, not a disadvantage situation where I'm being eliminated as just a photographer?
Are you using social media right now?
I have a TikTok, I have Instagram, I have what's it called? The Threads. So Instagram, X,
Pick
Threads,
one
TikTok.
and build a following.
Okay.
Pick one and build an audience. Because I could sell you my TikTok course for $199 US, but it's kind of pointless because what you're doing, I know it can be done. I know exactly where it's done, but then me telling you it and you don't have the money to invest in it, You're just going to be right back spinning your wheels, looking for a solution when what you want to do has already been done. There are photographer YouTube channels. There's photographer TikToks. There's content creators that know how to work one camera and do all their content.
Yeah.
There's a
I'm trying
sales
to
funnel. There's a sales funnel for it. The sales funnel for it, I already sell TikTok 15-second leads for $1.99. Each commission that comes in for $1.99, I get 30% commission US.
See,
Right.
so this
Follow
is
Elon.
So is my content creator service worth doing? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
We're
okay.
using YouTube right now, which is already a content platform. If you
Yep.
search
Right.
on YouTube, photographers, content creator packages, like Roberta Blake. Roberta
Mhm.
Blake only does creative content on YouTube. He's one of the biggest YouTubers that does it. He probably
Right.
has a coaching course.
Alan,
Evan
the question-
Eves, like Nick
Go ahead.
Nimmin, like there's YouTubers doing what you're doing. You just need to follow them or buy their courses.
Follow
Right.
the Yellow Brick Road.
see, the question becomes is what are you doing making you happy, right? And if you're just doing it to try to make some money, right? But it doesn't make you happy, then it's going to lead you down the road of misery, right?
Right.
And
I mean,
and that's
I've
the
got
biggest
several.
thing with all of this is if what you're doing gives you happiness, some bliss, and you really enjoy what you do, then you know what? That should be the avenue that you are going down, right? I mean, you see, and I'm trying to figure out what
You and I, Brent, are making no money, but I'm happy.
I'm happy.
See, and that's
And
where
a
I'm
lot of
at.
things that I do
Yeah.
just make me money, but I don't really enjoy it. So like certain
Oh, there you go.
sales funnels that I sell, the affiliate marketing courses I sell, I don't like them. They're sleazy, they're cheesy, they're weird.
Oh.
Like no, but I want $1,000 commission. I want the $1,000 commission. So if I can sell a product, 3 people in a month, I'm off of disability. That is the thing is we're on disability already stuck and squeezed in a fixed income environment. And I know there's something that can pay me $1,000 US if I can just sell the damn product. I don't have to like the product. I need to make the money. Because the sooner I make the money, I can do what I want. And it's making the money and not in a job with the boss over my head telling me what to do for $16 an hour.
That's what I want to get away from because
there's an
I'm
environment
finding
there's a huge environment of you'll learn a few online skills, you make a lot of money. There's some people that I've met that are stupid as hell making $1 million a year. And I talk to them and they're drunk out of their mind. I'm like, how are you making $1 million a year? It makes no sense. Like they're making 1,000. They're making I know you're doing the. I know you're doing the.
Guys, can we let Minnie speak, please?
Oh, sorry.
But there's just certain like we're using the internet, we're using services. You want to build content. You may or may not want to have an online like a business or not. The easiest way, it's online business, digital marketing, selling affiliate products. There's Amazon, there's Best Buy, there's Bowflex, there's Beachbody. There's so many. Do you have to like the company? No. Do you have to learn to sell it to make your money? Yes.
right.
I really don't like no. Some of the sales funnels I do not like. I get bored out of my mind. But when I get the sale in my inbox, it's fantastic.
The money at the end of the day, and then you can do what you want.
We have to punch out everybody. But
and it's a whole lot better than me getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to a job I don't like, to sit there for 2 weeks, waiting for a paycheck, answering the phones in a call center. I'm not doing that no more. Where I have to worry about a boss looking over my shoulder if I hang up on a customer. No, on the internet, if I don't like you, I block you. There's no customer complaint. I don't like you.
Yeah,
that's it. And because I'm an affiliate marketer where I'm the sales representative, independent contractor for another company, if they have a customer complaint of the product or service that they just bought, you send them to customer service.
There was a lady on TikTok. She was a grandmother and she was doing affiliate marketing. And she said, basically, what I do is I join the Amazon, and I don't know much about it. So if I'm way off, I'm just going by what she said in her 20-second thing. She said, I take a product off Amazon through my affiliate marketing and I paste it into, I think she used Etsy or not Etsy, Pinterest or something, and she just pastes the link. And anytime someone goes and buys a sneaker off that link, she gets a commission for it. But the way she was describing it, it sounded a little bit hard to kind of follow, and it was very back and forth. And she was picking up her grandkids and stuff, and I found it distracting. But I'm sure what she's doing seems viable. I just don't know the back door into getting going. Otherwise, I would, because trust me, I need some gear.
Yeah.
So if I could make a commission, I would.
You got yeah, for the affiliate marketing that you watched the video, you got it right, you understood it. It's like how you already have camera equipment, you can sign up on Amazon's affiliate program now, but with Amazon's affiliate program, you have to make a sale within 6 months. If you don't make a sale within 6 months, they close your account. Then you have to go back and sign up again, and then you have to make a sale in 6 months. So with you already on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, build your audience, build your email marketing list.
Okay.
Because you need an audience. Like if you join Amazon and you're teaching people how to use the camera equipment that you already know how to do, and you don't have somewhere to send them, you're not going to make the sale. You need to gather your audience of photographers, like photographers with a disability, but then you don't lead with the disability on social media. It's secondary.
Right.
You have to maximize the ableism of people who hate their jobs, want to do something else. So photography, people that have a YouTube channel, and then you talk about the YouTube channel. You talk about beginner photography things. You're talking to the average person that wants to be in photography, not a person with a disability. That comes secondary. Because I learned if you lead with a disability first, you literally lose customer. You need buyers. You need people to buy what you're selling. And most people who are buying what you're selling don't have a disability.
Right.
Yeah.
So
That's a good.
I think my TikTok says I'm disabled Canadian, but it also says I'm owner operator photographers on it as well.
So lead with photography, lead with photography TikToks, lead with photography education, lead with photography for dummies books on Amazon, like lead with normal photography education.
Okay.
All right. Well, I just want to wrap this up for today. I want to thank each and every one of you on the panel today. And do we have any ending comments quickly before we wrap up?
I just wanted to say quickly that we do have a show coming up on Friday, and it's going to be our 100th episode.
Oh wow! Yeah,
you did 100 episodes on Twitter Spaces.
Oh my gosh! Yes,
it was 102. It ended up being before we pulled the plug on that. But,
right.
So now that we've relaunched on here, it's been 100. We've done 100 of these. Which is pretty amazing. Pretty
time
good.
flies, and it's been awesome, and more power to going forward, right? I mean, there's lots of more advocacy to do, and and just listening to people's stories, listening to what do we, and it's not just stories too. It's how society, how government has impacted people's lives. What do people go through? What do you want to see changed going forward? How do you create change for yourself? For the system that's been purposely designed the way it is, because people will get disabilities more in life. They're either going to be diagnosed disabilities, they're going to be hidden disabilities. We live with disabilities, and as we get older, we get more. But how do we work with things? How do we, as Minnie's explained today in today's segment, how do you become more independent, self-employed, and not worry about the government and saying having to follow all these policies that they just kind of just throwing out there. I mean, Minnie has said it better than I could on that part, and I want to thank you, Minnie, on this segment. And Minnie's a great part of our panel on our ongoing segments, and hearing her input on today's segment with this is so important. And I want to thank you, Minnie, on that today. I learned a lot from you today, actually, on this.
So on Friday, we have Cheryl Hardcastle will be joining us as well, which is cool. She'll be one of the guests joining us, and so we're hoping that most of our regular panelists will be on the
Yeah.
show with her, and so that'll be a fun show.
Yeah, I
Oh,
hope so.
and we should say that they're sorry. We should say that they're also going to be releasing the BC Budget 24
Right.
on the day before, so we'll have lots to talk about on the Friday.
Yeah, the BC budget comes out actually on on the Thursday.
So the
And
day
so
before, yeah.
I'm going to be doing a pre breaking with Brent segment. What I'm actually looking for in the budget. What do I think it's going to be in the budget? And of course, I mean,
Pink
I will
unicorns.
I'll
Pink
give you
unicorns are
I'll give you a pre breaking with Brent. What do I see in the budget? I don't see anything in the budget for people with disabilities in BC. Sorry, I mean I see $0. I do because
I've pretty much given up on the
yeah, you know, do
you remember
that's too much of a carrot, and they can
they're
dangle
going to
it
say,
into
well, this is what we gave last
2028.
year.
They
They're
can
gonna,
dangle that for the next 10 years.
Yeah, they're going to
We'll
say,
get
this is
to
what
it.
we did last year, right? We're going to say, well, we gave money last year. Well, this year we don't. But what I'm going to say is, hey, my landlord gave me a rent increase. So they gave me a rent increase. Do I not pay the landlord? I mean, and this came from my landlord saying, hey, so you need to remind the government that like we're going to be giving you an increase. They need to now increase your income in order to pay for that. Because you say, well, how do I pay the increase? You know, so
Does anybody know what the increase in Ontario is? It's 2.5%, right?
Ours is 3.5 this year.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah. Which is like 50, or what is it now? 50, almost $50. $50 increase this year.
I was gonna say to everybody remembers the Oprah Winfrey, these are my favorite things episodes where she gave everybody a car. You get a car and you get a car. It's like you get a pink unicorn and you get a pink unicorn and you get a pink unicorn.
You get a pink unicorn.
That's what it feels like, right? Everybody gets a pink unicorn.
Well, that's the thing, right? Because it gets to the point of like the rent keeps compounding up and up and up, right? And now things don't go.
Is it 2.5% times your rent, or is it plus your rent? So, like, if you're trying to figure out,
it gets on top of the rent. So what it is that whatever your rent is, whatever your rent is right now, Ellen, is at 2.5%. So then that's each month. So whatever your rent is, that's what's going to go up per month.
All
Good
right,
news, everyone.
But
that's not much.
Yeah, it's always something to look forward to, right? It's almost like a present from the landlord saying, "Here you go, and we want to
surprise."
But the
your pockets.
But then the government says at the same time, "Surprise, we're not going to give you an increase." But anyway, I'll dive more into that.
But the government also says what they do not cover, you're responsible for. So even you read the Canada Dental Benefit, it purposely like I copied and pasted every time it said that if you're paying your health provider for the dental service and it's not covered, you're responsible for the difference. Luckily the Canada Dental Benefit clearly said you are responsible for the difference. ODSP and everyone else disability program, they fail to say that part, but it's in there. So whatever the gap is of you missing rent or missing groceries or missing anything, you're responsible for it. Whether you go in credit card debt for it, you win the lottery for it, you have a job and make the money for it. Like the way that we're upset over these things, we know they're going to happen. They expect you to cover the difference.
Yeah.
Like they fully like how Harris tried to ban people from panhandling money on the street, and they're still doing it anyway. Well, this is because they need a way to cover the difference.
Yeah.
And then there's a book on Amazon, How to Panhandle and Make $100,000. Somebody made a book selling this book, How to Panhandle for $100,000.
There was a guy in Toronto. He would drive in from Oakville in his Jeep, and leave his Jeep at the I think it was the exhibitions park and go, and he changed out of his nice uniform, and his wife thought he was still working downtown Toronto. So he'd leave his fancy suburban house in Oakville in a suit and tie. He'd go to the park and go in at the X, and then TTG in, and he would sit there and panhandle all day long down by Union Station and make enough money that for 6 months, and they didn't just realize he was doing it for a year.
It's this book
Wow.
right here.
Wow. The Panhandling Bible. Wow.
Yeah, it's this book, like, and he sells it for $19 paperback or $9.99 on Kindle.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So, like I said, there are ways for you to make money. Pick the way you're going to make the money and make as much money as possible. Like this whole idea, we're waiting for the government to do this, we're waiting for the government to do that. They have their own agenda. They have their own schedule. What are you doing? What are you doing for your own home economics in your house, your own household political agenda? Like the government's not like, great, I will like to have the Canada Disability Benefit income support, but I also, in the back of my mind, know the government is going to find some way to take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I come to the conclusion. I think that the moment it goes in people's
carrot.
banks, Dougie will find a way to claw it back. He'll find
Oh, yeah.
something.
It doesn't even have to be Doug Ford. Like it could be
Well, it
anybody.
doesn't.
It could be
Yeah.
anybody.
But I mean, in Ontario, I think Ontario and Alberta are the most likely to be the ones to claw it back because they were a conservative party.
Regardless, like it doesn't like it really
doesn't
whoever's in
matter.
power doesn't matter. It could
Yeah,
be
it doesn't
liberal,
matter.
it could be NDP, it could be Green
Yeah.
Party, Independent,
yeah.
whoever, it could be Rainbows
Yeah.
and Unicorn Party.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It really
Yeah,
does
exactly.
not. It does not matter because
Yeah.
if let's say we have Rainbow and Unicorn that's in power, and we have voted for Rainbows and Unicorn because we think they're the next whatever, they can do whatever they want. They're in
Yep.
power. But
Yeah.
you're in power in your household, but you're waiting for somebody outside of your household to decide what happens in your household.
Yeah, that's
See,
You
it's
take
not
care
just,
of yourself first.
yeah.
see, it's
Yeah.
not it's not just, one political party, the other political party. They both play the same games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of people don't understand is this political process in this country is basically designed on the prospect of, one party will give you a hug and a kiss one time, the other party will give you,
Hug and a
little,
kiss and a grilled cheese is what they're offering now.
Yeah.
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
And while the other one will give you a swift kick in the ass, and then and then they'll take away the grilled cheese and tell you it's for your own good.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other government gets in, and then the other government
Heart to the heart. You're taking it away.
But the worst part is, right? The worst part is they switch up this game back and forth, so you never know which party is going to be the good guy or the good party is going to be the bad guy.
Yeah,
so
right.
just when you think, oh, well, these guys are the bad guys, all of a sudden the bad guys become the good guys, and you're sitting here scratching your head, going, well, wait a minute, this makes no sense. But this is the game that's played in the political process in Canada that I've been watching. I see Minnie smiling because she gets to what I'm saying. Of how bad it really is.
I do, but I'm also laughing at the way that the grocery stores were denying their high profits and how fast my portfolio grew. I started my investment portfolio in 2020 when I got approved for the disability tax credit. I had zero money, and now there's 77,000. And as the political people are arguing about inflation and grocery prices and shrinkflation and all, my portfolio is growing, which means if I was investing in the stock market when I got on ODSP, even if it was $100 a month, and then more money as more money came in from mom, dad, and grandma and whatever, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have this conversation.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't have, like, it's not like I need a lot of money in the stock market. I need roughly $25,000 to $100,000 deposited into the stock market, growing in my risk tolerance with my financial planner that understands my risk tolerance. And the minute, like, he's not performing the portfolio the right way, or sometimes I get a second opinion financial planner to look at my portfolio to see if it's doing well. The minute I have someone give me a second opinion and say, this guy's ripping you off, you're paying too much fees, I fire the financial planner. The one thing I know is I'm working so hard to put my money in the investments the way that they're supposed to be growing, the way that they're supposed to be acting. I protect that first. Because the government's not going to protect me. My doctor's trying to find an exit strategy to cut down her patients. I can't trust her. She's a new person on the list I can't trust, which means I have to make sure the credit card is paying the health insurance. And then political people, okay, fine, great. NDP wants to tax the rich, but if I become one of those rich people, I'm making sure you're never in power. Like, think about it.
Right.
We know
Yeah.
certain political power people
Yeah.
are defending people with higher income streams. Become the higher income stream and vote those people out who are cutting off your wealth.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good
It's not like we don't have
good view on-
access to it. Every one of us with a bank account with like either Tangerine, Simply Financial, TD, whatever, you can open it, start it there.
Mhm.
Start it, get it open, put the money in, actually have like go into the bank every week to have them teach you your portfolio. They still get their commission anyway.
Mhm.
They want your money in the bank anyway.
Of course.
You're working how many hours a week so that you're not on disability, not scrambling to pay for groceries. No, I don't want to line up around the corner for the food bank. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
So that, like, this
And
self-accountability of ourselves, we just have to do it. Or we have family members that are educated enough to learn it to do it for us. Because the way that I asked my aunt of who's going to take care of my cousin is because she's smart enough to do it. She's been dealing with his disability since the 60s. And I grew up watching him not get the care that he needs,
Yeah.
be treated horribly by police. And then, great, he's 55 now. Eventually, exactly. So the longer you live as a disabled person, either you have advocates taking care of you or you become your best advocate.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
no government party cares about me, like, at all. It's Black History Month and it's Family Day. They don't care.
Yeah.
They
no, they
really
don't.
don't care. Like, I could write them, I can copy and paste the same letter to the same MP and they don't care.
They just want
I
the
think
vote.
I look at the Canadian disability benefit and that the fact that it's at the and bear with me here, that it's at Royal Ascent. But to me, what that says is I got a friend that's disabled and I take care of my buddy. And I tell all my friends that I got a disabled friend and he's my buddy. And I pat him on the head when he finishes his beer because he's my buddy. That's how I see the benefit.
Well, you know, Ellen, when you see when you say Royal Ascent, I mean, yeah, it's like empty. It's empty.
It's that guy.
And if they go and call an election, guess what happens?
They call.
If I can, please.
Oh, go ahead, MJ.
You know, when it comes to all of this political meandering that they do, I mean, Brent is right. It's the moment they call election, everything's off the table. So it's all promises, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, more and more people are, getting tired of governments that give promises. They want to see a concrete plan and a concrete idea of what they intend to do and why they intend to do it. And I've always said that the day a political party shows up with a plan, that shows up with a detailed plan of everything they intend to do and why they intend to do it and how it's going to benefit the majority of people, that's going to be the day that the system goes and changes. But until then, there's absolutely nothing going to happen because people are sitting here just buying into false hope and false promises that, are designed to go and give this party the in to get them elected. It's like, sure, Trudeau promised to get, to legalize marijuana, but that's the only good thing that he ever did. Right? That, and at that point, he didn't even do a good job of it at that point. So, and that's where the problem is the system. These people only work to a point and then they stop. They don't go all the way. They just stop at 50% or 30% and just, that's good enough.
Just enough while they're elected.
Just to dangle that carrot and say, hey, you're interested, right?
And because Canada doesn't kick them out when they've been reelected after 50,000 times, like Mayor McCallum in Mississauga, that lady was mayor when I was in elementary school, kindergarten.
Oh my gosh.
Up until the last 5 years or so.
Wow.
Yeah.
That she retired because they kept. There's no
accountability.
There's no short term.
There's no term limits.
There's no term limits. We can vote. People are voting for Ford again. Why?
Yeah.
We're voting thinking, oh, he's going to be different now. Everyone knows. Like, if you're in a relationship with somebody and the boyfriend is not going to change, they usually tell the female to not go back to him. But for whatever reason, we vote for the same person.
Well,
If Ford was any of our relationship people and we're told they're crazy, don't go back there, we're not going back there. But some reason we vote for the same person every single time.
I can't remember what it's called. It's basically it's kind of like spousal abuse, where the spouse keeps going back to the abusive husband.
Stockholm syndrome. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I knew
Trauma
that's what
bond.
it is. So yes, trauma bonding. So if that's exactly what it is, it's Stockholm syndrome, trauma bonding of, oh well, I mean, they weren't that bad really, but maybe they've changed, right? And it's like people seem to just want to get backhanded by the government at every turn, and I'm going to use that term, to get backhanded and just go, I'm good. I can get back up, boom, we'll give you another one in 4 years, And, this is where this abusive relationship, really needs to come to an end. And a lot of people, just that fear of ending that abusive relationship is what really stops people from going and progressing as a society, and this is, stops people from making the decision that would benefit them.
It's like, also why people don't come off disability. So like, oh, disability is going to cut me off. In what way? We went through all the policies. We read through every policy directive. I showed you being on it, getting your income support, to being off of it and not, to the point where you can be off of it and get transitional health benefits or an extended health benefit plan, or make enough money and buy your own health benefit plan. And then if you're buying your own health benefit plan, that is something you can write off on your taxes as medical expenses. And then it's either medical expenses or it's a business expense. They give you 2 options to write off your medical costs. It's not like they give you one. There's multiple options to write off your medical costs for having a disability outside of the disability tax credit. People are all upset, oh, I can't qualify for the disability tax credit. There is 600 other things in the policy you can have without worrying about the disability tax credit.
Is you don't have to qualify for the DTC.
But they're worried about what somebody has and they don't have it. Look for the thing that you can have and have the best of it.
I actually used
qualify for it.
A year ago, 2 years ago, I had the DTC, and I actually went on CRA and it said apply for the DCC, and I'm like, what? I'd applied for I've had the DTC like 3 or 4 times in a row. I'm like, why? So I've got to call CRA and go, what's the deal here? Because I went through all this medical. I have a letter saying by CRA notifying me as a disabled Canadian.
But when you
at
log
federal level.
into your CRA account, the My account, it tells you how long
It will
you
say,
have
It will
the
say
disability tax credit. Mine says 2008 to 2025. So I know 2025, I need to prepare all my documents and reapply. Then it also says when I applied in 2007 and got denied. It keeps record of everything of the disability tax credit.
Okay. Well, I've got a challenge now because I don't have a doctor, and part 2 of the DTC is a medical form. So
But they also list all the healthcare providers that could fill out the form. It's not just your doctor. It's your audiologist, it's your physiotherapist, it's your nurse practitioner.
Can an RPN do it?
It lists everybody on it.
Okay.
It's yes, registered
nurse practitioner.
Nurse practitioner. Yes, I think they're listed now as well. So
okay, that's good because I have a very good friend who's an RPN and she's a smart cookie.
Okay, well there you go.
Well there you go. So you got that solved for you. You just got to get that in motion. You know, and this,
the brainstorming we went through to fill out that you thought was never like doom and gloom. That like the level of like problem solving. I get it. Some people's brains don't process that way, but that's the only way to break free of this system. Like this, what is the solution for you to have a better quality of life with everything that we have available? Like, yes, there's a system that makes it very limiting and thinking there's not solutions for it, but there is a whole list of other things that you could have. Like you may have to go to a private clinic, a private doctor, pay for the doctor fee and get the forms filled out. Like I felt MedCan can do it. I don't like paying $1,300 for a doctor, but I may have to pay $1,300 for a doctor to get my forms filled out.
Like, well, there you go, right?
The way that there's private clinics and there's public clinics, and the way that Ford is pushing everybody to go to a private, I may have to max out credit cards and get my forms filled out and bring on my records.
Well, wouldn't that be covered under your health insurance?
It might not. No? If I don't have, the annoying part about health insurance, if I get it after a diagnosis, they may not cover certain things.
Okay.
And then with the way that
Mm.
doctors have a fee schedule,
Yeah.
some of the fee schedule is not covered in the insurance.
Yeah.
So like
Just
doctor's notes are not covering it. That's why part of the reason that family doctors want to quit, they're doing so much paperwork that they're not paid for, and they don't have the money coming in to hire a nurse practitioner or a physician assistant or a business administrator person that deals with medical offices to help them fill out the paperwork.
Too much
So like,
red
great.
tape.
So a lot of my paperwork that I fill out with my doctor, I fill out half of it and she fills out the part she signs and stamps. But I naturally do it. She's like, we naturally have the system in place that I can fill out the form. Like the disability form for special diet, I checked out all the boxes, celiac, lactose intolerant, lost too much weight. She signed off on all of them.
Wow.
But it wasn't like she signed off on all without looking. She signed off on all of them by actually going through the appointment, of assessing everything on the appointment. But half of the process is, if your doctor says you can fill out your section of the form, that you can answer the questions and they review it and then sign it, it makes it easier. But a lot of doctors, they're using
They won't do it.
their part-time job is filling out forms. They don't want to do they didn't come into medicine to fill out the form.
Yeah.
Then if they're filling out the form, they're charging you more money to fill out the form. I know my doctor, if she fills out the disability form, I can be an annual fee of $150 or a one-time fee of $75. And then any other disability form I need filled out is $25. Or I buy an annual fee of filling out forms. Like I have to prepay filling out all my forms for the year just for my doctor, because that part is not covered in OHIP. It's not covered in the private health insurance. Like that's the thing of, you need to work. You need to make more than $1,000 a month. Like the whole idea of disability, you can make $1,000 a month and keep your benefits, but you're not accessing all the other things you need.
I want to thank you very much, Minnie, today for taking this time. Learned like tons. I learned so much information from you on this, and we definitely could keep piling more on onto the segment, and we'll do like a follow up on our next one of our next segments that we do, and I want
it would be
people to.
nice if we get questions from the viewers. Like your videos are getting views, or just whatever. People are not posting questions.
Yeah, definitely.
I know everything for me, but like the way we help Alan figure out what other healthcare provider can fill out the disability form.
Yes.
Other people are just stuck thinking that disability is never going to make them get ahead, when you have to do the steps to get ahead.
Yeah, I really encourage people to like when you subscribe, like if you want to send in your comments, like send in or feedback of maybe.
Yeah, as soon as you subscribe, it means you're then free to leave comments, and
like if you're hearing something that you find very informative to you, and you say, oh, I agree with that, or I have a question with this. I mean, definitely interact with us, and that's what it's about. Is we're learning from you, and vice versa. It's a interactive.
Somebody up there could know something we don't.
Exactly, and then so that's what it's all about. And because it's a disability community, and the allies are basically people who people who have a disability, how it's impacting you, your family, your lives. I mean, so let's all come together. Let's all come together as a community, and let's grow with ideas, solution based. How do we work with so many different dynamics and come together with brainstorming of ideas? And today's segment, it taught us that. It taught us that yes, things can change, right?
I'd love to get more voices from the Philippines. Why did I say Philippines? It's because my wife is Filipino. I meant to say from the Maritimes. How did Maritimes turn into the Philippines? I don't know.
Magic.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm sure my wife is impressed that I said Philippines. But yeah. But people from the Maritimes. It'd be cool if we got more voices from the Maritimes, and because I know that the social services there suck, and
totally.
It would be nice if we got some feedback of.
I'd love to hear from the Atlantic provinces, all the Maritimes. I want to hear from each province that we haven't covered. There's so many of the different provinces that I know, and the rates are all checkered. Different rates across the country. The Yukon territories. If you're watching, reach out to myself. Reach out to Neil. We'll get you booked in. As the weeks go on, it fills up. Each Monday we have a panel, and we talk about whatever the theme is. Our next panel that we are going to be doing, we're going to be talking about healthcare. So stay tuned on that, and we'll be. I don't know how many series we're going to be doing yet on it, but we're going to be jumping in.
Not sure.
Yeah, so that's
like
something
more
good.
than I already talked about today.
Yeah,
but we'll be
Thank you
jumping
for
in
coming
that
on.
too, and on the impacts of how disability rates and services have an impact on your health. Right, we'll be talking about a lot of these topics, and how they're all correlated together. Really, if you think about it, if you don't have your health, what do you have? And that's kind of how I'll end the segue with that is, if you don't have your health, what do you have?
It's like another song. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Sing it again.
I actually watched Bruce Springsteen do that on his No Nukes tour.
Oh, okay.
There we go. So I will see you on the 100th episode, everyone, on
Friday.
Yes, Friday.
Same time. Same time.
Same time, same place. And
look for be square.
With Cheryl Hardcastle, it will be a fun time.
And it'd be always a fun time with Cheryl.
There'll be Timbits and coffee.
Yeah, there we go. and magic pink unicorn.
I'm gonna take Dunkin' Donuts.
Well,
there you go.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in today.
Thanks, everyone.